We'll be live.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Another episode with Susie. I know people want to just see the shows with Susie. You know, when I
Oh.
have streams and it's just me. And people are like, oh, another stream with just Armin. Where's Susie, Armin? We don't want to just see you. We want to see Susie. But here's Susie. Oh, actually, before we get started, I have an important message to send to people. It's news. Okay, I have good news. Okay, it's very good news. Because a lot of people have been asking about this. Guys, you don't actually have to become a member. Okay, you don't have to. I know a lot of people come to the channel and look at the membership option, and they're like, well, do we have to be a member? No, you don't have to. So it's an optional. It's an option. You can be a member if you want to support the channel, but you could also not be a member, right? You could just like the stream. I just wanted to let people know that because been getting a lot of emails and messages about this membership function, and yeah, just wanted to let you know. By the way, but it's not an option for you not to like the stream. That is not an option. You have to like the stream. You have to leave a comment after the show is over because we want to make sure our channel is growing crazy fast. I can't believe I never imagined we will get to this point. Now we are. And that's because you guys are liking. So please go ahead and do that. By the way, Susie, can you let people know? Because a lot of people don't know why. We have had a lot of new subscribers in the past week or so. And they're used to seeing me, these new people, but they don't know who you are. Can you tell people what is this new segment that we do together? Like,
who are you, girl? Hi. Well, for those who don't know what we're doing here, what's going on, Atheist Republic is a registered 501c3 charitable organization in the United States. And one of the programs that we do is that we do this news show where we come to you guys every week and talk about the religion and secular related news from a global perspective, because we believe that the fight and push towards secularism is a global project and we have to learn from each other and give our community around the world support. So that's the general vibe. What am I doing here? I'm the president and CEO of Atheist Republic, and I also co-host this show with Armin, and I've been doing it for like 4 years now. Yeah, it's a fun time.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite times of the week, and I have.
Oh, by the way, today, what countries are we covering?
Oh my goodness, we have some juicy stories today, so make sure to stay tuned. Okay, wait. Okay. The title is obviously we're talking about Germany first. Okay, this is very relevant to what we're talking about. We're also talking about Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Israel. We're talking about the United Kingdom, and then also Albania. Interesting story out of Albania. But this story out of Pakistan, I'll just give a little teaser. And I will just say that every time there is an Islam-related story about breast milk,
no way,
going to have to cover it, because the Islamic obsession and issues with breast milk is just too hilarious to me. So
I should do another
just stay tuned.
I should do another stream about Islam and breast milk. What do you think? Because a lot of people don't have any idea what's Islam's obsession with adults drinking breast milk.
Yeah, it's a big fixation.
I have to do an.
You've already done multiple streams, and now we gotta.
Yeah, but we have a lot of that's when our channel was small. Now our channel is big. I think I should go back to that, and I should educate people why Islam is so obsessed with adult men, and drinking breast milk, and the huge debate in Islam regarding adults drinking breast milk, so that they could talk to the other adult women and be in the same room with them, is whether it's okay. And this has been a huge debate in Islam, whether the adult men should put their lips around the nipples of the woman or is it okay for the woman to separate the milk in a cup and to drink it separately, right?
No,
Whether or not, yes. This is a huge topic. This is actually a huge Islamic debate. We're not joking. This is a big debate. And
the
also,
wisdom of Sheikh
the
Albania.
color of the nipple. Yes, the color of the nipple becomes relevant in this Islamic discussion. I should do an entire stream on this. Again, I think I should do it. Guys, subscribe. I will do a stream on this. Yes. We're not making this up. This is Islam.
Is. When D, our lovely editor D, she's in the live chat. She's one of our moderators. Everyone say thank you, D, for me being an amazing part of this community. But when D recommended this story to me, I was like, immediately, yes. It is truly the gift that keeps on giving. But anyways, for those who are not familiar with the Atheist Republic, we are here to give a community to people after they have left religion, because especially in countries where you can be executed or punished for leaving Islam, finding online community is the best way and safest way to find a community. We're here to be, a big, giant, crazy family to these people who feel like they have nowhere else to go. And in general, fight for the rights of atheists, because atheists are one of the most highly persecuted belief-based groups in the world, and face extreme persecution. And I also dedicate a fair amount of my time helping people with some of their asylum cases when they're trying to flee for their life and go to a safe country. So that's some of the stuff that we do here. But this is the news
who actually have a genuine case, like people who are running away from Islam, not people who are bringing their barbaric ideologies to liberal countries, right? Yes. Yeah. People who are running away from Islam, not people who are bringing Islam, basically.
Liberals trying to escape Islamists. Basically, yeah. And I'm really, really proud that we have so many of them in our community.
Oh, let's do the super chats and then get to the first news. The first news is, I'm actually very interested. I'm so happy about this first news because we have set a new normal. Yeah, we'll get to, Susie knows why I'm so happy about this first news. Okay, but let's get to the super chats.
And it's mostly because I have to tell Armin that he was right and I was wrong.
Yes. This is such a joyous day. We don't get those. We don't get.
No, that happens all the time. Okay. Anyway, super chats. NY mom Adrian. Excuse me, I can't talk. Just became a YouTube member. Thank you for joining and supporting the channel. Thank you for joining Satan's Minions. If you guys want to support the channel, you can get access to our members only content. You can make sure that our work can continue, and you get access to our exclusive emojis. Join by becoming by hitting the join button down in this corner. Angel, speaking of members, also is celebrating her membership for 7 months. 7 months of supporting this channel, saying good morning, everyone. But not only does she support this channel by being a Satan's minion, she also has donated once again $100. Absolutely insane. Just with a pleasant message, just saying hello, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying their day and is looking forward to the news, good or bad. And I do have to say that this week the news is not that bad. Last week it was rough, and then this week we got nothing really tragic, actually.
Yes.
So thank you for the super chat. David is just saying hello, salam behamagi, which I thought was adorable. Erica gave a super chat saying, we need Susie versus David Wood. I mean, Dawood Wahid the Dizzle. Like in a debate, Susanna versus David. Like, what am I gonna debate him on?
Well, you could do one of those joke debates that they do with AP.
Yeah, I'm not a big debater. That's not
you're You would be good at joke debating, though. I think it would be very funny.
I think I would be good at actual debating. I'm just kind of a perfectionist, and so I would take forever to prepare for it.
Right.
Yeah. Sid gave a super chat. Thank you, Sid. It's been a while since we've seen you. Saying not just recognize Israel volunteers with the Jewish LGBT nonprofit, gets clearance from them. All immigrants should be exposed to blasphemy to confirm their acceptance.
Let's leave this.
Let's go back to this when we talk about the first story.
We will, because this is about the first news. We will read this comment back after we do the first news. So. Yeah.
Adam Rickster just saying, let's milk that story. But
yes.
And Sid Dave gave a question saying, what do you think of the Hardy-Nijar minute of silence in Canadian Parliament? The guy literally has videos calling for self-deletion bombings, heaven for martyrs. This is let me refresh my memory. This is the Khalistani guy that got assassinated, right? Wait.
I haven't followed the news.
Yeah. This is the guy that got assassinated. Well, having a moment of silence for someone who supports terrorism is not going to improve your relationships with India. Let's just say that.
Really? He did that? I haven't been following that. That's insane.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that until now. Sid Rasika is celebrating her membership for almost 2 years, just with a bunch of crying emojis. I hope everything's okay. And Arjun gave a super chat. Thank you, saying you didn't cover the Muslim lynchings in West Bengal in Indian election results. Also, is thirsty for Susanna a valid reason to send a super chat? Of course, it's fine. It's fine. Yes, it's fine. It's acceptable. No, we didn't. I haven't really been following Indian politics for a little while. I'm going to be honest. I kind of fell off of that because the things have been consuming our attention more. I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know if I heard about any lynchings happening in West Bengal. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah. Well, you guys could you could bring these to our attention using our Discord. We have check the link to our Discord. If you guys are upset that we didn't cover certain news, you could have brought it into our attention by going to Atheist Republic Discord and suggesting news item to us. Not that would guarantee that we will cover it, but at least it would be on our radar.
Yes, exactly. So please join the Discord and give us the suggestions in our news recommendations channel. That's a great way to let us know.
Yeah.
I have been hearing about a little rise in like cow smuggling lynchings, alleged cow smuggling lynchings in India, which I basically consider a blasphemy lynching, if we're being honest. Anyways, so let's get to the first story. This is big news.
Clappable.
And let's get into it.
Why did this is the most clappable news of all time. Yes.
Yeah.
Celebration. Yes.
Okay.
Last time I said last week I said something was good news, and then when we covered it, it wasn't good news. So this time I'm gonna make up for it. This is actual good news, okay? Hopefully, unless we see. Yes, this is actual good news. Okay, so clappable, right?
Yes.
Okay.
First news. New German citizen rule demands recognition of Israel's right to exist. Germany has introduced significant changes to its citizenship laws, including a controversial new requirement for naturalization applicants to affirm Israel's right to exist. This measure comes as part of a broader effort to combat rising anti-Semitism and far-right sentiments in the country. The reforms also make it easier for well-integrated immigrants to obtain German citizenship, allowing dual citizenship now and reducing the residency requirement from 8 years to 5 years. Interior Minister Nancy Faeser emphasized the government's stance, stating, quote, "Whoever shares our values and makes an effort can now get a German passport more quickly and are not required to give up a part of their identity with the former citizenship." However, she also drew a firm line against intolerance, adding, quote, "Anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of contempt for humanity rule out naturalization. There is no tolerance for that." These changes have sparked debate in Germany, particularly in light of the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict and Germany's unwavering support for Israel. So, this was of particular interest to me because this is something that Armin was already proposing as a criteria for citizenship, basically across Europe and in the United States and Canada, etc. And I had some pushback to that, just in the sense, and like, I don't even know to what extent that's allowed under the law. Armin was just putting that out there as this is something that should be a thing hypothetically. I don't know, maybe they're listening to Atheist Republic, because then it came forward and actually happened. I didn't think this was a real thing.
Yes.
I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
there's no
We
way they
suggested
could do
it
that.
here before they did it in Germany. Yes.
Yeah. Once again, okay, everyone drop a little Mufti Armin in the chat. Well, not Mufti, like we need a maybe guru. I don't
Political
know.
advisor.
You're a prophet, Armin, because you predicted it. You can now claim prophethood because this is a prediction. It happened. And so like I said, I was wrong. Armin was right. Apparently, this is a real thing, and it really did happen. Now, at the same time, Germany is considering pushing forward a law that would allow deportation for supporting voicing support for terrorist groups, even if only through online means. And this is questionable because of this is going to have to see how that plays out in the courts because of free speech laws and stuff. So we'll see how that happens. But in general, so I was reading an article about how Olaf Scholz has really changed his tune on immigration. So basically, Olaf Scholz has been historically defended many of the immigration policies of Germany. And now he's coming forward and saying things like this. Quote, "It outrages me when someone who has found protection here commits the most serious of crimes. Such criminals should be deported even if they come from Syria or Afghanistan." Now that's a bold statement because Germany is not allowed to deport people back to countries that they deem as not safe. They deem Afghanistan and Syria as not safe. So he's saying, no. Fuck all that. We should send them back anyways. And I read a really interesting article about kind of the attitudes in Germany over this kinds of things nowadays. And what pissed me off so much was that in the Politico article, it had a subheading called "Germans fret over a rise in crime." Like they fret over it as if it's just an unsubstantiated fear. They're fretting over it. It's like they have this anxiety for no reason. Because technically Germany is still one of the safest countries in the world. But then later in the article, they break down what the rise in crime has actually been, and it is shocking. For example, the number of violent incidents involving a knife rose by nearly 40% between 2021 and 2023, hitting 14,000. Then there was another statistic that blew my mind. Where was it? The number of criminal acts in Germany rose by about 6% last year compared to 2022, with authorities attributing the increase to high levels of migration. While foreigners make up about 15% of Germany's population, they accounted for 41% of all crimes in 2023. Crime that authorities attributed to foreign suspects rose by 23% in 2022 and 18% in 2023, according to government statistics. And so basically, the interior minister is saying we are pushing the boundaries of our capacity for integration. She had another really, here was a firm quote from the interior minister. After there was that incident where the Afghan nationals stabbed to death that police officer who was at the event that was anti-Islam, we talked about it on the show. You know, that event where all of a sudden the police started trying to detain the guy who was the victim. Do you remember that incident, Armin?
Mm.
There was like anti-Islam kind of little protest thing. Afghan national comes with a knife, starts attacking people. The police arrive. They start going after the people that were the victims.
Yeah, that has turned into a meme. Everybody is like turning that into, it has become a meme template, unfortunately, for that cop who died. But yeah.
And then while the cop is trying to wrestle the victim to the ground, the guy comes around and just stabs him in the back of the neck, right? Well, after that happened, there were tons of Islamists celebrating that attack online. Well, the German public didn't take too kindly to that. And the interior minister said, Islamist agitators are stuck in a stone age that do not belong in our country.
Wow.
I was like, damn, I'm not used to hearing you guys talk like this. And so this is kind of some of the things going on in the background. But Armin, you know, please take it away. I know you probably have a ton of opinions about this.
Yeah, and I think this is just the beginning. This should not be enough. There should be a whole set of values that they are checked for. And it also, I mean, they could obviously lie. But if they are lying and it's proven that they were lying after, I think their citizenship should be challenged because it could show that they were lying on their citizenship application. And also, even though this could be a lie, it's just a first step. It's just a normalization for more value tests. Because if you have, this just opens the door. Like, people are like, oh, this is not going to work because obviously I can lie. First of all, this is something that many Muslims would not feel comfortable even lying about. And also, this is going to be something that already will stop many Muslims, because this is such a big taboo that it will already filter a lot of Muslims out, a lot of the most radical ones, right? But they could lie, they could do taqiyya, they could say, you know what, I'm going to go into this country, and then after that I could do whatever I want against Israel after I get my citizenship. Yeah, but this just opens the door to a whole bunch of other filters that we want. If you normalize talking about this, because these are standards that people did not agree with, consider too much before. But if it's normalized by a country like Germany, now we have our foot in to now come and add a whole bunch of other filters to it. One thing I want to normalize is, other than supporting Israel, it should be required that they support LGBT rights, that they're anti many things that you find in Sharia. They promote freedom of speech, including blasphemy. I think it should be specified that they should say that they agree that it's everyone's right to insult Prophet Muhammad. Like, that's where I wanted to take. I want somebody that is coming to this country, that they have to recognize that insulting Prophet Muhammad is part of freedom of speech of this country. They have to agree with that. But again,
specifically Prophet Muhammad and not all religious figures. You want to specify by name.
No, they want to say everything, but with the example of Prophet Muhammad. So everything is free speech, but specifically as an example, they have to mention Prophet Muhammad as an example. I mean, that's already normalized because, for example, in Canada, where you recognize that female genital mutilation is a crime, you have to recognize that as part of your citizenship process. So they already have normalized giving specific examples, and I do think like we have, if you have lied in your citizenship application, we have already precedent that your citizenship, if you lied about something, your citizenship should be able to be stripped away from you and taken away from you, because it was all based on something that was not true, right? So if you come and say that I recognize Israel's right to exist, and eventually do something, take parts in protests, support Hamas, say from chant from the river to the sea, participate in any activities that challenges Israel's right to exist, that should eventually be recognized as somebody who lied on their application, somebody who does not, because I think the citizenship, people who are not born in that country as citizens, I think their citizenship should be conditional. So this is a problem because some people must think that this is a two-tier citizenship. People who could have their citizenship could not be taken away from them, and people who with citizenship that can be taken away from them. But again, I used to agree. I used to think that this should not happen. But at the end of the day, if you are giving citizenship to people based on the condition that you have a certain set of values, if those certain set of values are not there, then that citizenship should be able to be taken away from them. I think that is. I mean, given what we're saying, I think this seems extreme, but I think we are in an extreme situation. So that's the only way that this eventually becomes meaningful, because obviously people can lie on their application. But this is a great first step. This is a great first step. And also, this is not a violation of freedom of speech, because people think like, oh, so you're thought policing people, so people can't have certain views. Yeah, people can't have certain views. You do not owe people the right to freedom of expression if they're not a citizen of your country. When it comes to rights and freedoms, the rights and freedoms that your country has to give to people is based on their citizenship, is based on you are a citizen after you become a citizen. So if you are not a citizen, then I can treat you differently. In the same way, for example, if I'm a Canadian citizen, I have the right to access the free healthcare that this country has to offer. If you are a French citizen, you don't have the right to Canada's free healthcare. So, in the same way, yes, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, as a Canadian citizen or as a German citizen, you can enjoy the right to having freedom of expression as a citizen of that country. But when you're applying to that country, then obviously every country should be able to filter based on values. If you cannot filter based on values, because with the excuse that, well, this is thought policing and this is not freedom of expression, then you're basically, every country is fucked. Every country is fucked if you cannot filter based on values. So freedom of expression is the responsibility a government has to its citizens, not to people of other countries. To people of other countries who are not your citizens, it's completely justifiable to filter based on values. What do you think about that? I have some comments against what I'm saying in the chat, and also somebody who responded to this when I tweeted this. By the way, follow me on Twitter, Armin Navabi. When I tweeted that we're going to have this news, somebody responded by saying, I don't support this. Your opinion on becoming a citizen of a country should only be in that country. I don't want to become a citizen of the US if I must declare support for South Sudan's independence from genocidal North Sudan. So here's the thing. If you don't want to be a citizen because this country requires you to support a different country, well, that's your choice. That's exactly, you could then not become a German citizen. A country
No, but here's the
has the
difference.
right.
It's not it's not that you have to support Israel. You have to, let me be clear. You have to recognize their right to exist, which is a proxy for recognizing the importance and validity of the nation state, which is the antithesis of the Islamist project. Now, that being said, you can recognize their right to exist and not support that country that you agree has a right to exist. Do you know what I mean? But let me be clear. It's very obvious from the movement, the dialogue, the rhetoric, and also decades of history and what leaders have been saying that it is essentially the same they view it as essentially the same as recognizing Israel's right to exist and supporting it. Did I make that distinction like clear? So they're technically not one and the same, but people are treating it as if it is one and the same.
Yeah, but even if that's the case, I don't think this is even about Israel. I mean, I know Israel is, I think this is an excuse. So I know support for Israel is such a huge part of the DNA of Germany, right? It's part of their, I mean, these two countries are tied now, okay? Germany after World War II, its support for Israel, it's a fundamental part of being Germany. Okay, so these two countries are linked together; they're not separable, right? So if you're like, oh, why is Germany tied to Israel in this way? Germany should be Germany, separate from Israel. If I want to be a German, why should I support Israel? Well, part of being Germany is support for Israel. Like every country gets to choose their identity and their values, and their values being supporting Israel's right to exist is their choice. Why do you want to take that choice away from them? But I also think, separate from Germany's aggressive support for Israel, separate from that, this is just a good filter for supporting Germany, because being anti-Israel is a key identifier of people who are going to be a problem for Germany. Right? So this is not supporting Israel. This is supporting Germany. Because if you are anti-Israel, then you're probably a type of person that we don't want here. Right?
Yeah, it's a
just
proxy. It's a proxy for other things. It totally is. And they made it very clear with the interior minister literally like making it obvious that this is about Islamism, when saying if you're Islamist stuck in the Stone Age, you don't need to be here. Like, that's
right.
You cannot make it more obvious that this is targeting a specific thing, a specific ideology. I mean, if that's their prerogative, then that's their prerogative. And it's so interesting to see them like call it out in this way.
Yeah, so is being pro-LGBT, for example, right? So if we want to filter people who are anti-LGBT, we're talking about anti-LGBT rights, by the way, not like people who have turned LGBT rights movement into something else. Okay, we're not talking about the woke mob. Okay, we're talking genuine support for genuine support for equal rights for LGBT stuff, right? So that is not just support for LGBT. That's just that is filtering out Islamists. Okay, so that is basically support. That is beyond supporting LGBT. That is supporting Germany. This is basically not allowing in people who have barbaric, destructive ideas. And again, I know people could lie, but again, if you make the even if people could lie, if anybody has a history, any social media post, any advocacy, any activism in anything anti-LGBT or anti-Israel, if they have any record of them, and I think this is going to be done a lot easier now with AI, basically scraping everything about this person's identity on social media and face recognition in any event that they have ever participated in anywhere in the world, right? If they have been in an anti-Israel rally, if they have been posting, if they have even liked a single tweet or Facebook post somewhere anti-Israel or anti-LGBT, then your citizenship is automatically denied, right? So you can't lie about that. We have this on your record. This is the first step. What I'm saying is the future should be what comes next, right? And once you get your citizenship, if you have proven after that you actually have values, that you lied. So if you're lying, you have to have a really clean record, clean history of not supporting these values. That you can't lie about. It's going to be online. So there are going to be less people that will be able to get in with lying. But even if you get in with lying, if you eventually prove to us that your values are still barbaric, then we will consider your citizenship application invalid and strip you away from your citizenship. Go on, Susanna.
Well, and Germany is serious about that kind of thing. Years ago, we covered a story where they revoked a dude's naturalization into citizenship because he refused to shake hands with the female officer. And the background is, Armin, this was literally, this dude goes through the entire naturalization process. He is at the naturalization citizenship ceremony. The person presenting his papers or awards, whatever, is there, and the official is there to give it to him and like finalize it. And that person is a female officer or whatever who's there to shake his hand. He refused to shake her hand. This is literally the finish line. He refused to shake her hand, and they're like, no, you don't, no, it's over, done, wrap it up, nope, reject, denied, no, go. Like at the finish, like, and this was years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, I can see them following through on this, which is interesting.
Yeah, actually, that should be one of the filters. Every single man that wants their citizenship, there will be a female officer giving them their citizenship, shaking your hand, and vice versa. Every single female, oh my God, this should be the case. Every single female that wants their citizenship, there will be a man. There will be a man giving you your citizenship, and they will be there to shake your hand and congratulate you on your citizenship. And you have to shake their hand. No shaking of hand, no citizenship. That's another filter. It should be there.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh, we're doing this because like we believe that men or women are equal. So you got to shake the hand." Now I know a fair amount, not a fair amount, but I know some Jewish women who refuse to shake like the hand of men. That's
no citizenship for them either. Okay.
It's never made sense to me, but I'm not a theist, so.
Well, it doesn't make sense to you because it doesn't make sense in general. Like, what are you looking for? It's religion.
Well, exactly. That's that's my point. There's certain things.
In fact, there should be a line of women. Okay, not one woman. There would be 5 women, and you would be in line, and they all there to congratulate you for your citizenship, and you will shake every single one of their hand, and there will be eye contact. And also for women, if there's a woman who's getting citizenship, there will be a line of men, and you have to shake every single one of their hand, and also eye contact. Okay, smiling. I want eye contact and smiling at the same time. Okay.
I have the funniest mental image right now where it's just like, yes, shake the hand, do it. I feel like there's.
Oh yeah, hugging. We are. People are very. Oh. I heard Europeans do the kissy when they're like greeting each other. Like they
yes, need to be, and when I was in Spain, I messed that up. I messed that up many times because I'm not used to that.
Right. Yes, that's actually a part of European culture that has gone away since COVID. We should bring that back for citizenship purposes.
I don't know. It's a little. If you're not used to it, I'm like, I was doing it and I'm like, do I touch the cheek and just kiss the air? Do I actually turn my head to actually kiss their cheek? And it seems like it's just the cheek touch and air kiss, and then you do it on both sides. I mean, it's a whole, no one taught me this. There's no classes on it. Okay. Europeans, tell me what I'm supposed to do here. Okay. And then I'm like, do I kissing the actually turning my face to kiss their cheek feels a little bit much. Like I don't know them like that. I don't know, man. I'm too American for this. I was raised to give a firm handshake. Okay, you look them in the eye and you give them a firm handshake.
Yeah. In North America, they judge you a lot based on your handshake. I was like, not used.
The handshake is important. The handshake, how firm you are is important with the handshake.
Yes. How dominating you are. Like how much like you're controlling the handshake versus the other person controlling the handshake.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing. But you don't want to like crunch the fingers because then that's too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is okay. We're getting too off topic here. All right. Yes.
Susanna
Let
trying to
us
figure
know
out how
if
to
you
interact with Europeans.
did I make it clear how this is not a violation of people's free speech? Was that obvious? Like, do you agree with that? Like this whole citizenship test. I mean, every
No.
citizenship test. If this is, by the way, here's how I'll make it clear. If this is a violation of anyone's free speech, then every citizenship test is. Like it was a violation of your free speech before. Because you do a swear of like you do swear something like you do and your citizenship test you also promise to uphold the laws of your country. Is like, oh, what about the people who are against the laws of your country? Like, do I not to be against the laws of your country? What about my free speech? I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Free citizenship tests are already a limitation on your freedom of expression. They all already are. So this will not be more of that. It will. I mean, it's not going to add anything to that. If you don't want any thought policing on citizenship, then it will be a free for all. Then anybody could come in with any values that they want to have. But anyways,
so let's go to the super chats and stuff, because a lot of people sent super chats that are relevant to this segment. So Sid Dave sent a question saying, so they should not just recognize Israel. They should volunteer with Jewish LGBT nonprofits and get clearance from them. And all the immigrants should be exposed to blasphemy to confirm their acceptance of freedom of speech. So
yes,
I don't. Well, apparently the new citizenship rules are going to include a number of questions about Jewish life and Judaism in Germany.
I think Sid is not talking about what it's like now. I think Sid is saying what it should be eventually.
Yeah.
I think okay. I like this. Let's take it there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
This will make it harder to yes. In fact, make it something that it will have economic benefit, because this is going to be expensive to do all of this. So if you want to be a citizen, you have to volunteer. If you want to be a citizen, you have to volunteer first in a way that has financial benefit for the country, so it outdoes all this filtering costs. But also the volunteering has to be something that is in line with the values of your country, and specifically targeting against Islamic values, pro-Jewish, pro-LGBT, pro-Israel stuff. Yeah.
And these
and
organizations have to be properly liberal and not post-liberal, postmodernist, nihilist, wannabe Marxist.
Right.
Gasian is celebrating his membership for 30 months. Gasian, well, he's been a part of this community for way longer than that, saying, I'm torn betwixt the global South and the U.S. Supreme Court. I'll just let that. Yeah, I'll let that wisdom open up.
Don't try to make sense of it. Just let
it wash over you. Just let it wash over you.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
UVB sent a super chat. Thank you, saying, how about hosting Peter Boghossian, and how about hosting a Cypriot about the Turkish occupation of northern Cyprus going on for 50 years? I would love to talk to Peter Boghossian. Actually, it probably wouldn't be too hard. I know a lot of people that know him. That'd be amazing.
Once we get Atheist Republic to a point where Susanna can do more streams, then maybe she could bring guests and separate, have her own segments. Yeah, so guys, get Atheist Republic to a point where we could pay Susanna full time, and we will have more streams where she will bring in people and interview them. Okay.
In terms of a Cypriot, are there any specific activists or thinkers that you think would be particularly good? You can give us a suggestion.
I don't know how would that be.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be a good fit for us.
I mean, I'm against separatists, and I defend the border integrity of every country, not just Israel. That includes Cyprus border integrity. So, unless they could come up to an understanding themselves. But yeah, I'm usually against anybody who is a separatist.
Sid Dave is saying extremist Muslims will just pretend to recognize Israel to get citizenship. I'm not sure how this is a win. Extremist Muslims work within the leftist ecosystem. Okay, just a side note. We already touched on this. Armin thinks that that's a step too far for most people. And you know what? It was so funny. I've been thinking about recently is how when I first started, when I first joined Atheist Republic and I first got involved in this work, like I would hear people constantly being like, "Oh, the leftist Islamophiles, blah blah blah," and I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" It sounded like conspiracy nonsense, like seeing, like figures in the dark nonsense to me. And now once I've like been doing this long enough and then learned so much more history, I can't stop seeing it everywhere. And I'm like, right. Do I sound like one of those people now? Probably.
Wait, can I just quickly respond to that last comment? Okay, again, this is just the beginning of normalizing value tests. Okay, the test needs to be a lot more extreme, but the fact that this is now normalized, because remember when I said it on this channel, people were like, "Oh my God, Armin, that will never happen." So many of you said that, and now it happened. So now a lot of the other things that we want could eventually happen as the rise of Islam. By the way, this is not going to solve the problem of Europe's Islam problem, okay? Because even if there is no migration from Muslim countries, we already have enough Muslims in Europe, and they're going to have a ton of babies, and their population is going to grow. So that's why but we have to do this. We have to stop immigration from Islamic countries, other than very, very rare cases. But that should happen. And these are steps in the right direction. But when it comes to addressing Islamism in Europe that already exists there, we need other solutions, and this channel offers those other solutions. So make sure that you're subscribed here, because we discuss those here. We have to. This is not just a border security and migration limiting battle. This is not just a military battle like in Israel, but it's also an ideological battle. You cannot win this battle by just shouting, "Deport them, deport them." They're not going to get deported. They're already citizens. This battle needs to be won on different fronts, and one of those fronts is the ideological front. So if you want to become more effective at fighting this ideological battle, then just subscribe to this channel, because we equipped our soldiers here with the weapons they need to win this battle.
And this news story was one of your solutions that I thought was impossible. And look at where we are.
Yes.
So Arjun is saying, not to take the devil's advocate here, but would Armin support it if Saudi makes it a rule that in order to become a citizen, they should not recognize Israel?
Obviously, I wouldn't support that. But obviously,
I think he's talking about the more general principle of a country that has policies that we might not like doing exactly the same thing. But
I'm not supporting. This is not based on principle. This is based on consequences. I'm a consequentialist. Okay, I'm not saying if this is okay, then like here's the thing. It's the question that you're asking is, well, we should have a standard here that the people that we allow in this restaurant should be, not shouting or like having decent behavior before they come in. Like, oh, Armin, if you accept that standard, should we have it? If another restaurant says like you need a virgin sacrifice before you could eat here, would you allow that? Like, no, that's not good. Like, well, you have standards for people coming into this restaurant, so why not have different standards? Well, those standards are different. Those standards are stupid. Those standards are wrong. Like, just because I accept the process of having certain standards or certain minimum values that you have to enter a country, that doesn't mean that I support having other values. Like, I don't understand how this even works, right? And like, hey, let's teach our children to be, respectful of other people, be polite to, their teachers or whatever. Like, oh, you're supporting teaching things to children? What if I want to teach my children to grow up to be murderers? Like, yeah, that's not good. Like, well, you already accepted the standard of teaching children things, so you should accept this as well. Well, one of them is good, the other one is bad. Obviously, how is that even connected to each other? Yeah, this is a bad standard. I would not support it. What Israel is using as a filter is a good standard. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
No, but I think he's making the general point of how would you feel about another country having a filter that you might
Yeah,
not
it's
like.
a bad filter.
It's
Yeah,
a
well, I
bad
don't
filter,
agree
but
with
it's
that.
within their right to have a filter if that's in line with their values. Now, we think that those are bad values, but it's within their right, within their interest as a nation to filter how they see
No, it's
fit.
actually not within their right. No, it's actually not within their right. Saudi Arabia is a signatory to the United Nations Human Rights Charter. They're signatory to that. So that's actually, they already have given up that right. So
You mean
actually, as
I'm putting aside the actual example of not recognizing Israel as being the example. I'm talking about the broader point of a country is allowed to have a filter as they see fit.
No, they don't have the right to apply any kind of filter, right? They don't have that right, because this is challenging. So as a UN member, let's say, for example, the filter that Germany is putting does not contradict any of the agreements that Germany has signed with the United Nations as a UN member. This filter, for example, down here is actually in contradiction with what Saudi Arabia is a signatory to.
Me.
Yeah, your question is, does a country have the right to put any filter that they see fit? I'm answering specifically. Yeah, go on.
Okay, let's not get stuck in the weeds. I was saying, putting aside that specific example that he gave, which is in contradiction with those things. In general, outside of international treaties, you are allowed to have filters that you want. They might not align with our values, but if it aligns with the values of that state and other international agreements that they've made, that's within their right as a nation.
Okay, so there are limitations. Do you agree with that? On the values
yes, and
that
I
they
just
want to
acknowledge that. Yeah.
Right. So you say their values is not the metric here. Our values, me and your value here, is the same values that every country of the UN is a signatory to, right? So the limitations that they have agreed to is the same limitations that we want them to have. So the limitations on what filters they could put, okay, is actually in line with liberal values. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they're not free to put whatever filters they want to have, they want to put under citizenship. They're actually their limitations is completely in line with the values that me and you advocate for, based on them agreeing to the United Nations Human Rights Charter, and also recognition of other countries' border integrity and the right to be a nation and all that, right?
I see your point.
Does that make sense?
I see your point now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. Okay, so let's go to oh my goodness, so many super chats. Sid gave another super chat saying, do you think a practicing Muslim can be a liberal, like support women, apostates, and LGBT religious minority? I really don't think it is possible. I think it's possible because I know many of them. I know many of them personally. From all sorts of sides of the political spectrum. You know, lots of people have different ideas of what it means to be practicing or not practicing, or if you're really a Muslim or whatever. But these people say that they're believers and they also have these values. That doesn't mean that they support everything. You know, like I have Muslim friends who are like more classical liberal and they support like the individual rights of the LGBT community, but there's lots of behavior within the LGBT community that they dislike or don't approve of. And like we can have a discussion about that.
Okay. I'm going to answer this, but I also need a clarification about before the comment. I said something wrong about my answer is wrong about what I said about in the previous super chat. But remember, practicing Muslim does not mean that the person has views that are completely in line with Islam. Many Muslims' views and beliefs is not actually in line with Islamic teaching. Islam can never be liberal. Islam can never support women's rights. Islam cannot never support LGBT. Islam is always has been and always will be fundamentally against liberalism, women's rights, LGBT, free speech, all of that. Okay, Muslims on the other hand have correct views about Islamic views, and they have wrong Islamic teachings, and Muslims have wrong understanding of Islamic teachings. The Muslims who have the correct understanding of Islamic teaching, okay, they also, and they agree with them, they also can never be in support of women's rights. They can never be pro-LGBT. They can never be pro-liberalism. But there are many Muslims who are wrong about Islam, and the reason why they are wrong about Islam because they're more decent human beings, and they want to remain Muslim, right? So they have the wrong views about Islam. And sometimes it's emotional. They're emotional. It's not by logic. It's not by reasoning. Because they are decent human beings. Because Islam is barbaric and anti-human. And these people are better than that. Most Muslims are better than Islam, right? And that way, they try to fool themselves about Islamic teaching so they could support these liberal values because they recognize them to be superior. But they have to fool themselves in convincing themselves that these liberal values are in line with Islam. And again, they are fooling themselves, but they are better people. Like when I say they're fooling themselves, I'm not trying to insult them. They are fooling themselves because it's hard for them to accept Islamic teachings are so barbaric and anti-human. So regarding the last question, the reason why I was wrong is it's actually Saudi Arabia is an exception. I just checked. Saudi Arabia is not a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Saudi Arabia was the sole abstainer among Muslim majority countries when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1984. Saudi Arabia claimed that the UDHR, the United Declaration of Human Rights, violated Islamic law.
Well, because it does.
I was wrong. Yeah. So they are actually not a signatory. So I was wrong about that.
Well,
I'll take that back. I'll take all of that back.
I don't know. His point is like, I know Christians that say that it is not a contradiction in their faith to support LGBT and all that stuff. Personally, I don't get it. I don't believe it. But then again, I'm not a theist. I don't cherry pick within a religion what I think is how it actually works and how people got it wrong. It's again, theist cherry picking. Like, do you think it's possible? Is it intellectually consistent? No. But that's normal.
Yeah, I'd rather you be wrong, like irrational, than inhuman, than a piece of shit, basically, right? So
well, here's the thing: like religious fundamentalists are more logically consistent, but their conclusions are horrible. So I would prefer someone who's cherry picking and not making any sense, but just they need something to still have the faith that maybe brings them comfort, but then treat other people in their community decently and with respect. Like, it might not make sense, but that's not the end of the world. I'd rather the community relations be better.
But the problem is that Islam needs to be destroyed, because even if there are many Muslims who ignore Islam and are decent human beings because they ignore Islam, the fact that they are supporting Islam, because the fact that they are there and call themselves Muslim and give legitimacy to Islam and spread Islam, basically they are the carriers of this virus, right? So they may not be expressing the symptoms, but they make Islam more dangerous because they are these good human beings that are carrying the virus, and they are not themselves being being harmful, but they are carrying the disease. Here's why they are actually a bigger problem than other ideologies. So imagine if we have two viruses. Some viruses, as soon as you catch it, you show the symptoms, and they're deadly, but you show them right away. But there's some other viruses that a lot of people actually don't show the symptoms. You carry it around, and only a few people show the symptoms. The second type of virus is actually more dangerous, because you're not going to be able to tackle it right away, because so many people are just carriers of the virus. And Islam is actually a more dangerous virus because of all these good Muslims, because there are so many people, good people who are carrying the virus without becoming jihadi or anti-LGBT or anti-Jewish. And you see them, you go like, okay, this is not a problem. This is a person who's a Muslim, who's a decent human being. But they make Islam more dangerous, because the virus will remain longer. The virus will be more persistent. And eventually, because if you go to the scripture, what it actually teaches is these harmful and destructive ideas, the net cost of society will be a lot more, because there's eventually, even if 5%, so the carriers, these good meaning Muslims, will make a much larger portion of the population to be Muslim, and the 5% of this larger population ends up being so much more harmful to society than 90% of a virus that was a lot more extreme and showing itself all the time, because that would be 90% of a much smaller population, which end up being a small cult that would just die right away. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, we got a few more super chats to go through. So Eric gave another super chat talking about the Germany handshaking thing, saying unless they shake hands with nobody at all. But it's pretty customary, like at a ceremony it's like a graduation. You know what I mean? Right. You have to walk the stage, get the diploma in one hand, shake at the same time. It's a whole coordinated effort here. Take the photo.
And no gloves. No gloves. I know, I can already see some people will be cheating. Okay, like I can see that if there's a citizenship test and there's a woman and there's a man, and then they have to do this handshake, they're gonna wear gloves, so there's no skin to skin touch. And I'm like, I'm already seeing this before it happens. The rule should be no gloves allowed. We want the skin to skin contact. Skin to skin contact. This is already also.
What if that person has really sweaty hands?
There is hand wipes, okay, right next to. there's sanitizers,
yeah,
and hand wipes and everything right next to you. Okay, there's wet baby wipes and dry tissues, and also different types of sanitizers. Okay, like with different ingredients. Halal, no, not halal. Haram's hand sanitizer. It's actually written on the hand sanitizer that this is made with haram ingredients. Okay, but yeah, go on.
Oh my god. Eric gave another super chat.
There would be bacon, and you have to participate. How about there would be a dinner before. There would be a celebratory lunch before we give you your citizenship, and we will eat together. And everything is made out of pork. But go on.
I mean, people have a lot of dietary restrictions that would, outside of any ideology, that make them not eligible for that.
Too bad. No citizenship for you. This is actually good. We will also get rid of the vegans. we will also. This is double win. This is a double win. We would also filter out the vegans. Amazing. Save the country.
Fuck your cholesterol. You're eating the bratwurst. Okay. All right. Eric is saying that also make a lot of introverts ineligible.
It's okay. It's worth. Yeah, we
okay. How bad
we have to sacrifice somehow to
get over it. You can get over it. Sid Dave gave a super chat saying 15 plus years ago, I used to be anti-gay and thought they were crazy. But then I learned that my doctor, who was so nice and kind to me, was gay, and I realized I was wrong. I changed my worldview. And this is how our brains work. There are so many studies on this, is that we do not feel affinity or care as much about the defense of things that we are not familiar with. So you have to kind of know someone from these communities, and it will change your mind slowly but surely over time. Because you have to be familiar with it, and then over time you will see that the beliefs that you had are not matching with your reality, and eventually the weight of the evidence of your reality will be so much that it'll probably cause the false belief to crumble. Angry Keyboard Warrior gave a super chat saying, maybe one way to know Russia and Hamas are the bad guys is that they have special symbols to glorify their violent actions, like the Z and the inverted triangle. Well, Ukraine and Israel don't have such symbols. What do you think?
Maybe
I mean, Ukraine has their trident, which I don't know the history of that, but it's certainly been popularized since the war.
Yeah, I don't think we need to come up.
I don't think that's the litmus test.
Yeah, I mean, what if tomorrow we came up with a symbol to identify people with liberal values? I don't think that's a good test. I think we already have. I think we could. How about just evaluating what they stand for? I think that's already a good way.
Here's an easy test: believe people when they tell you what they say.
Yes.
Because here's like a thing that I've noticed with a lot of these like kids and leftists or whatever, is they don't actually give these people the respect of like listening to them when they say things. It's like, oh no, well, they say that they're gonna keep on doing like October 7th over and over and over again as long as it takes, but like, well, they don't really mean that. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, these people mean what they say. And give them the respect of listening.
By the way, can I say I was joking? So atheists came in like, well, as a vegetarian, not sure what to make of this. Okay, I'm joking. Okay, the vegans and vegetarians here. Okay, I'm not anti-vegan. I'm not a vegan, but I'm not anti-vegan. I mean, I am. Veganism is not good for you. Vegetarianism is fine. But again, I'm not here to start a war between myself and vegan. I mean, I am, but not today.
I woke up and chose violence, but not for this today. Okay. Erican gave another super chat saying, I know it looks like an occupation to outsiders, but the on the ground situation is more like a peaceful border dispute. And Northern Cyprus itself also benefits due to being a tax haven. I was speaking about the Turkey. Well, you would say
when I went to Cyprus as a child, it's a situation. When I went to Cyprus when I was a child, the situation seemed a lot tense. Okay, the situation seemed like you guys, like when I went to the border, I went from the Greek side to the border, and there were pictures of dead people, promises of revenge and stuff like that. I don't know what the hell that was because I was a child. I didn't understand what this whole violent imagery is. But this maybe since then things has de-escalated, but I don't know. That's my memory of what was happening there. Anyway, but thank you.
Well, the super chat coming in Turkish lira. You might be a little biased.
Yes, you're right. Actually, that's a good point.
Darko gave celebrating his membership for 27 months. This engaged American still confuses every time. We are just waiting to catch up to his esoteric wisdom. Okay, we shall wait and just hope that one day.
I have given up. I just read the super chats and let it mean whatever it means. I don't know why you're still trying. But okay.
Sid Dave gave another super chat saying asylum system has been abused in the West. I have seen Shias, Ahmadi Muslims getting asylum in the West, citing persecution from Sunnis. Imagine that. Khalistanis exploit it, feigning persecution. Okay, well, let's be clear. Shias and Ahmadis do face persecution from Sunnis. Like, that's not made up. That's a real thing. Like, that is a real thing.
But I am okay with not accepting any of them, even if it is real, because because I'm sorry, but we need to save our country. Like, if I cannot identify that you're not going to be a problem for my country, even if you need asylum, I'm sorry, but again, I always give this example. Like, when the plane is going down, they'll like, or if there's a problem in the plane, they always tell you to put the mask on yourself before you take care of anyone else, right? So a country, even if you think some people deserve protection, a country cannot be a source of security and protection for people in need if the country is declining, if the country is not strong enough, right? So I am for the extreme position that if you're from any of these communities, any of these Muslim communities, or any of these other communities that have a record of supporting terrorism, like the Khalistanis, for example, then no immigration from your community. Okay, even if there are some cases there that is going to be well deserving of security and safety, and we are going to, because again, remember, when you accept refugees from a country, like, let's say, for example, if you're accepting 10,000 refugees, for example, in general of all countries, if you deny one deserving person because of your filtering process, it's not like you're not going to fill the 10,000 anyways. You're going to give it to somebody else who's in need. So in net, you're also going to protect the people. Like, if I say, like, okay, no refugees from Muslim countries, done, we're done taking refugees from Muslim countries, even if somebody there deserves it. Well, you're still going to take the same number as before, so you're going to give it to somebody else who deserves it anyways. So the net effect of being helpful is going to end up being the same. But the benefit of this is that you save your country from harmful beliefs. Anyways.
You gave us follow-up super chat saying, imagine having to get asylum from non-Muslims because your fellow Muslims are persecuting you. It's not our job to protect you from your religious problems. Basically, like, all people being persecuted on the basis of their belief could be boiled down to this, though. Which you could use that same accusation and attitude against ex-Muslims. It's not our problem to help you with your religious problems. It's like, no, there is that way of thinking could be thrown against anyone. Like, I don't think that that's a good enough.
Yeah. No, that's the argument I would make. So here's the thing. The whole point of liberalism is not to just
this is also highly tribalistic.
Yes. I think my argument is better. I don't like to think about it. It's not our problem, because the whole point of liberalism is to become strong enough to protect the people who need help. But the way I would say it is, for you to be effective enough to protect the people who you need help, you need to worry about your strength. If you're letting in people in that is going to challenge your strength, then you're not going to be helpful to anybody. You need to be a strong country. If you open your door to Islamists that will challenge the way that you do things, then you're not going to be a help to your citizens or anyone else. That's the way I like to frame it instead, because it's good to be, it should be a goal to be a country that can afford to help, people around the world. But
okay, so Cajun American gave a super chat saying, what should we call the pseudo-Islam of liberal Muslims? I don't know.
They don't.
Do we have a different name for Christians that are LGBT welcoming, or for women's reproductive rights, or whatever? It's like, no, we don't really have a different name.
We don't have to name it anything. We just tell them these are liberal values that you got from other places. We name it liberalism. We're like, hey, the source of what you're saying is not Islam. Okay,
and everything a lot of people recognize that.
Yes. Just label it the label that it already has. These are liberal Enlightenment values that were popularized in Western Europe, in the 18th and 19th century, starting from and spread all around the world. Just that's what they are. That's what you're repeating.
There's also a fair amount of people that like see these values and like them more, but then also don't want to full blown be ex-Muslim because of the personal cost to themselves. Does that mean that we should like completely deny the fact that they share these values just because maybe there are actual really good incentives within their environment to not completely apostatize? Like that doesn't seem like that has a good utility. We have to
there's
consider that.
Yes, so there's three parts. There's three things. Two of them we don't have to deny. The third we have to deny. Okay, we don't have to deny that they're Muslim. They are still Muslim, even if they have a wrong view about Islam. We don't deny that they're Muslim. We don't deny that they have these liberal views. If they say I'm a Muslim and I have these liberal views, we believe them. We don't deny that. The only thing that we deny is the third one, that what they believe in is Islam. So we accept that they're Muslim. We accept that they have these views, these liberal views. But when they say that these views are Islamic views, that third part, that's the part that we deny. But with the first two, we give them that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Erican was saying postmodernist, non-denominational Islamicism. Is that supposed to be the name for the people that are?
Oh yeah, he's answering Asian American. Yeah.
No, but then if they are pseudo-Islamic liberals, then they're not going to be postmodernist or
yes, that's not liberal.
Islamicist. That's it. That's the opposite.
Yeah, this is the opposite of liberalism. Yes.
Sid is just saying Germany's last vegan leader was not a good man. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, actually, see, this is why Germany has a history with Germany has a history with anti-Semites and vegans in the same person. So they should filter out. So give them pork. Give them that eating pork should be a condition.
I think not. I'm kidding.
How did that? That's
Arjun
amazing.
is saying, do you think it was easier to be a moderate Muslim in pre-modern times due to general illiteracy of Islamic teachings, or is it easier today? Ex-Akbar. I'm not sure what Ex-Akbar means. But
depends on the time.
I think based on my understanding and also speaking to many people from generations older than me from Muslim backgrounds, I think things were maybe a little bit easier before the Muslim Brotherhood.
It was up and down. Like, for example, how far do you want to go back? It was completely like, if you actually look, for example, if you go back to some periods during the Abbasid dynasty, it was so easy to come out and say like, yeah, the Quran is a crap book under the Islamic Caliphate, and you will still live, and you will actually have people paying you patronage and stuff. So again, it's not like, oh, the more backwards you go, the more extreme they were. Like it is up and down. Like, so during Ibn Sina's time, it was like easier, and then Ibn Taymiyyah came and everything went to crap, and then everything also it was up and down. Yes.
That'll do
it. Yeah.
Asian American gave a super chat saying everyone wears a QR code of their beliefs. How easy is that to update?
No, we can't do that. That's like becoming too dystopian.
Yeah. Well, no, because Asian American always likes to toe the line with thought experiments about how authoritarian and dystopian we want to be. Asian American, excuse me, Kenny, our lovely volunteer Kenny, gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. So guys, if you want to get an Atheist Republic membership for free, you can like go in your settings and change things so that you can be gifted a membership. If you're a member, make sure to use the emojis. GJ, hi GJ, gave a super chat saying, I think I get what Armin just said. Most people are unfamiliar with Islamic doctrines, erroneously conclude from years and decades of peaceful behavior of Muslims and Islam that they have a peaceful ideology. I agree. I completely agree. Yes. Armin, do you need a potty break?
Yes, but let's read the super chats. I will bring up the next news because I'm afraid if I go now, I'm not going to have the next news. So let's
I
go
know,
through
but
the
I
super
want to see
chats. I
your
will bring up them.
reaction when I'm reading this summary.
Oh shit. Okay. So I'll be right back.
It's so good. I'll read a few other super chats. Okay, so Yusuf Dumphy gave another super chat saying, "What about accepting Uyghurs who are fleeing?" Look, I don't know. I am not as hardline as Armin on these issues, and I think that there are still there are millions of people who are experiencing severe persecution for their Islamic beliefs. Now, and they need to have protection everywhere. But like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is a human right to be able to seek asylum. It is a privilege to be granted asylum. And every country has their own prerogative in vetting and verifying these cases and then further deciding whether they should be naturalized as citizens or not. And I know people are playing me like, oh, who's this girl, this emotional woman who doesn't agree with Armin that zero Muslim immigration, and oh my god, what a stupid girl, blah blah blah. Because then all these new people totally
How
trash.
was it even a disagreement? That wasn't even a disagreement? But you said getting the asylum is a privilege, so you have a right to filing for an asylum, but you don't have a right to being accepted. So that is completely in line with what I'm saying. When you say it's a privilege, it means it's not a right.
Yeah, no, but you've
So
said
how is
like
that?
zero, like we should bring the number down to zero.
First of all, not actual zero. I will clarify. But even if it's completely zero, that means you still file the asylum, and then you would not be granted the asylum. We're not going to stop you from filing it. So again, like you said, you have the right to seek asylum, but we won't give it to you because that's not a right. That's a privilege. But also, it's not. When I said zero, I'm talking about, and I always clarified, unless very rare circumstances, like people who are being hunted down by Muslims, like ex-Muslims, Christians,
No, but the
Jews,
Uyghurs are believing
LGBT.
Muslims and they're being persecuted because of their Muslim
Yes,
background. That's a
yes,
well-established fact.
yes, very rare cases that could be
Does that fit within
identified
those
that
rare
this.
cases?
Yes, if you could be certain, like if you bring the numbers down from these hundreds of thousands to like rare cases where people are being hunted down, then you are going to have the resources, because this is bringing all these people and checking is very expensive. But if you bring the numbers down from hundreds of thousands to like hundreds, then each individual case could be studied, because now you're going to have a lot more money and resources to know that this individual is not going to be a threat to your country and to your values and to your way of life. You could study these individuals very, very closely and accurately and know that this is a safe person to bring into your country. So I'm talking relative to what the numbers are right now, is near zero numbers. It's not zero, because if you find a person that is being hunted down by Islamists, then yeah, that person, if they don't have their views that is going to be a detriment to your country, then sure, that's a case that could get an asylum. But these are numbers. But I'm talking about numbers that is not going to even be change the demographic. Like, it's not even going to be noticed when it comes to the demographic of your country. Like, if you add all of these cases that you're talking about combined, like all the people that are being specifically hunted down, like we have evidence of records of this person being hunted down, these rare cases, if you add them together, even if you accept all of them, it's such a tiny number that it's not even going to be noticed. This is completely different from this mass migration that we're seeing coming from Islamic countries to Europe.
Yeah, sure. Well, long story short, I'm like, yes, Uyghurs should be able to come seek asylum and be accepted for asylum if they're deemed to be a good fit.
Yeah, but you have to be able to show that they are going to be a good fit. It shouldn't be like, okay, well, I couldn't have proved. They should be able to prove that they are going to be good fit. It's not you that should be proving that they're not going to be a danger. The standard has to be beyond you're not going to be a danger. The standard has to be, show me that you are actually going to be beneficial to my country. Show me that you are going to be in line with what these countries, your values and views is going to be in line with what this country operates on, the methodologies, the standards, the ideals, the views that we have. You have to be able to show that. I'm sorry, but if you can't, then we cannot risk the stability of our country for the sake of others.
Man, the standards of some people in the live chat are so fucking stupid. It's crazy. Oh my god. Sid Dave gave a super chat saying ex-Muslims, religious minorities are different. They deserve asylum. Should an Iranian Sunni or a Saudi Shia get asylum in the West?
So
this is not that crazy. If they have a solid case of persecution, they have the right to be able to seek asylum.
I would say a solid case of persecution, but also proof that their views are not going to be a cost to our country. Like, what do you think about a Sunni that is being hunted down, but that Sunni himself believes that, I don't know, has anti-LGBT views and think Israel should be destroyed? I think even that Sunni, that specific Sunni, I'm sorry that you're being hunted down, but we're not going to bring you in. If you have views like, oh, Israel does not have the right to exist, if you have anti-LGBT views, if you have anti-female views, even if you're being hunted down, we're not going to open the door. So I think that should be added.
GJ gave another super chat saying a Netherlands Good Cause Foundation is showering YouTube with ads that the Netherlands should take in more migrant, but the Netherlands now has a government including Wilders in it because Dutch integration is lagging behind Dutch immigration. Yeah, and this has been a problem happening in the Netherlands for a long time now, since Ayaan Hirsi Ali was in the parliament. Arjun gave a super chat, thank you, saying Indian Modi government fast-tracked citizen for Hindu refugees in 2019 in the CAA bill, and global organizations ostracized India for it. Thoughts? Armin was originally against the CAA. I changed my mind. I thought it made a lot of sense. And you were... last time I remember talking about it, I remember you being a little bit of a stickler on the secular related issue of it. And I said that it's not crazy because there, for example, in my country, there are precedents for where the Jewish refugees from the Soviet Union were fast-tracked through the refugee system because the government was saying the case of persecution is so well documented that we can just fast-track this and we don't need every individual to prove a case of persecution because it's so well established and understood. And for those who are not familiar, India was doing something similar for people who were refugees inside India before 2014, if I remember correctly, for people who were from basically every faith except Muslims from countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, I think probably Bangladesh as well, kind of every country of those bordering India. And I said, I actually support that program. I got no problem with that program. I changed my mind on CAA.
Yeah, I think I should too, because if I correct me if I'm wrong about this, if I want to be consistent with supporting Israel, allowing people to become citizens of Israel because they're Jewish,
that's different than refugee seeking asylum.
Yeah, I know, but that is even more aggressive, right? You're like, not only you're going beyond accepting them as asylum, you're automatically a citizen because you're Jewish, because of the recognition that you are threatened in many places around the world. So if we accept that standard, somebody could say, well, there is a lot more anti-Jewish hatred around the world than there is Hindu hatred around the world. And I was like, okay, well, yes, but that would justify why Israel will give you automatic citizenship, and India is not talking about automatic citizenship. India is talking about, asylum seeking. But if you
Well, and then
accept that
also it's
standard
an
with Israel,
accelerated path to citizenship, if I remember correctly.
right, but it's not like as automatic as Israel. But yeah, if you want to accept that standard for Israel, then you should accept that standard for India as well, so to be consistent, I guess, right?
Yeah. I still don't know how I feel about the NRC. That's something I still need to learn more about, but I feel like it was the combination of those two that really made such a bad image for India. But the CIA really should, I don't know. When I learned more about it, I changed my mind. And I was like, this should be a non-starter. Someone gave a super chat, and I believe this might be in, I'm not sure what language this is. This looks like I don't know. It doesn't look like Hindi. It looks
South
like
African.
Yeah. But the actual name. Anyways, I'm trying to test my knowledge of what alphabet this is. But anyways, saying Uyghurs aren't persecuted, only the Islamists are persecuted, and that too started after a terrorist attack in China. China is not foolish like Europe. Following the desert cult destroys a society, China won't allow it. Okay, whether or not you like Islam or the fact that there was Islamist terrorism in Xinjiang, I personally feel like I have seen enough evidence to support the fact that there is legitimate, widespread persecution amounting to genocide against the Uyghur people.
Yeah.
It's been gone. My suspicion was right, but I didn't say it. Oh God. Sorry. Anyway,
so China is actually doing the best thing to do to actually increase radicalism and Islamic terrorism in your country, right? And China is actually not closing its borders from Islamic radicals. These are people within China, and China is not fighting Islam. China is fighting Muslim, which is the best way to promote Islam, by the way. So China is actually not doing it right. China is doing everything wrong, actually, when it comes to what's the best solution.
It's been super weird to see some Uyghur activists that I follow be super hardcore supporting the Palestinian cause when there's a ton of people in the Hamas supporting camp that deny the Uyghur genocide. I'm like, oh, that's awkward. And the reason why they do it is because they just hate anything that's they support anything that's anti-American, and it's really that simple. Anyways, GJ gave another super chat saying European Union countries have already begun in moving in Armin's direction. Aspiring migrants to the EU via North Africa now first have to take and pass language and citizenship courses before coming over. For which specific countries, though? I'm so curious about how they implement this. Are they running these in Morocco or something? I don't know.
Yeah, so here's a good thing about my issue with what people call the far right parties is that what's good about them is that they have the correct policies about immigration, but they have the wrong policies, unfortunately, about almost everything else. They're protectionist. Yes,
immigration and integration.
Integration, yes. These so-called, again, I don't call them far right because I don't see anything in their views that is far right. They're just right-leaning. When it comes to immigration and integration, everything they're saying is accurate. But when it comes to economic plans and everything, foreign policy, a lot of them have really bad ideas, and that's why they come to power and they stay there for a short term, and then they lose because people see that there's no their solution is not working for everything else. Well, their solutions works for immigration stuff, but not for anything else. But what I'm hoping is that the more these right-leaning parties become normalized, the so-called centrist parties, in order to not lose so many votes to them, take their immigration views, and their immigration views become normalized more within leftist and centrist parties because they see them as such a challenge to them. So I like the fact that they're coming in and normalizing this immigration policy. That's the benefit from having them in.
Well, and it'd be super interesting to see what happens in Germany, because that whole thing kind of backfired on Macron. But now it looks like Olaf Scholz is kind of reacting to the results of the EU elections. And then also, I think there might be, I can't quite remember. I think there's new elections happening in Germany soon, and he's trying to adjust.
Yes.
Anyways, did you have a good potty break?
Why are you talking about that as if I'm like 2 years old? Like, can you stop referring
know
to
how to
my
talk
breaks
about it
as potty
normally.
breaks? I don't
make it funny.
Potty break. Like, yes, my.
Are you ready? I was my segue into. Are you ready for the next news?
Yes. Okay, so we're getting a lot more super chats. We're gonna read them after this new segment is over. By the way, guys, thank you so much.
Let's cover the one by Sid Dave really quick because it's relevant to the last story, and then we can move on. So Sid Dave give another super chat saying you should study the Indian left. Hope Western left does not go that way. Indian left protects Sharia, got rid of anti-terror laws to appease Muslims, banned satanic verses, and denied a Muslim woman alimony. Let me be clear. It is a front-to-back nightmare. You're not... I'm on the same page. Like, the fact that there is an opposition to the UCC is crazy to me. Like...
Can we clap for this next news?
Yeah, it's just because it's like so funny. It's crazy.
Okay. Let's do it. Next news.
The bizarre Islamic reason Pakistan shut down a breast milk bank. Pakistan's first human milk bank, launched in June of 2024, so last month, has been temporarily suspended due to religious concerns, sparking a heated debate in the Muslim-majority nation. While supporters argue that the initiative is crucial for infant health, religious scholars claim that it violates Islamic law regarding breastfeeding. The controversy centers around the concept of milk kinship in Islam, which establishes a familial-like relationship between a woman and any child that she breastfeeds. Despite initially receiving religious approval, the Sindh Institute of Child Health and Neonatology, or SICHN for short, halted operations after a revised fatwa came down from the religious authorities. The SICHN stated, quote, "This decision is in compliance with the updated religious guidance and reflects our ongoing commitment to operate within the framework of Islamic jurisprudence." The Institute now seeks further guidance from religious bodies, highlighting the complex interaction of modern healthcare practices and religious traditions in Pakistan. This situation underscores the challenges faced by Muslim-majority countries in implementing potentially life-saving medical initiatives while adhering to religious principles. So let me give a little bit of background. Okay. So this is a milk bank that has been being worked on and being pushed towards being established for a really long time. This milk bank was going to be conducted in cooperation with UNICEF. And for those who might not understand, milk banks are crucial in helping infants. So, and this is particularly important for women that are having difficulty producing breast milk, or maybe they have their own nutritional or health problems that are getting in the way of them, proper being able to breastfeed. Sometimes they can feed, but their baby doesn't want to latch, so it's easier to get in a bottle. There's all these other things. And breast milk is particularly important for children who are in like the NICU or are born preterm. Like, this can really be life-saving, and there are giant benefits to breast milk when it comes to getting, fatty acids in the brain, allergens, all this stuff. And so basically there was a fatwa that came down, and so they were working with religious authorities to establish that this is going to be totally okay, that we are going to be able to do the milk bank in a totally halal way. Because for those who don't know, there is an Islamic understanding that if a woman breastfeeds a baby, that baby is now basically related to her, is now part of her familial line. And there are many bizarre instances of this throughout Islamic history that I'm sure Armin will bring up and we can talk about. Okay.
I am doing
I
quickly
can
bringing
see
up the
his face
hadith.
in the background and I can see he's like investigate mode. Let me pull up this idea. Okay. So this is a huge problem because, and this means that in most Islamic countries, they do not have breast milk banks which can help save babies' lives because of this belief. Apparently, Iran is one of the few Islamic countries that actually has a breast milk bank, but that's because they are Shia kafirs anyways. No, I'm kidding. So, where was their original ruling about how this was supposed to be implemented? So they were working with the religious authorities to make sure that this would all be implemented in the correct Islamic frameworks, because the milk kinship relationship is supposed to be akin to a blood tie, which means that you cannot marry a sibling through breastfeeding. Someone who becomes your sibling through breastfeeding, quote unquote, is now haram to you. You cannot marry them. And so basically, the religious authorities were saying that previously, their ruling was that this can continue, but you need to explain to women that about the concept of milk kinship. You need to keep records of who had what milk. You need to keep records of who it came from, who it went to, and only milk from Muslim women can be provided to Muslim children. So now the milk bank needs to be making sure that any non-believing babies don't get this milk from the Ummah, okay? So they're also making sure that non-Muslim babies can't get the milk. And this then so they unveiled this milk bank and it came forward and blah blah blah. And then 1 week later they put down a new fatwa and they say, "No, what? We changed our mind. This isn't going to work." And basically they revoked their decision because they believed that there was no way for the rules that they made to be pragmatically implemented. So they're like, if there's no way that this is going to be pragmatically implemented, then this whole thing is just forbidden. Because one problem that comes about is that oftentimes at milk banks, multiple batches from multiple mothers can be combined into one batch that's then given to a child. And so there's just too many issues in trying to figure out where this milk came from. And then it's going to make it impossible to keep track of who's now family legally. And then at what point are these records supposed to come out to make sure that you don't actually marry a milk sibling? Excuse, I almost said blood sibling. That's not the same thing. It's a milk sibling. And so, long story short,
Yes.
a bunch of muftis decided that these babies can't get the milk that could save their lives because they could maybe be siblings and get married one day.
Wait, no, they can't get married.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So, for example, should I give? No, I shouldn't give this example. I was going to use me and you as an example, but that could get weird, right?
Whoa, whoa, pause.
So imagine that I'm working with a woman in an office, and I'm a Muslim, and she's a Muslim.
Oh, yeah,
and we cannot talk. I cannot look at her. I cannot be close to her because this is un-Islamic. First of all, it's un-Islamic that she's working in an office to begin with, but let's ignore that part, right? But there's a solution. I can, she can suckle me, right? Meaning that if she has milk, if she's lucky enough for her to have milk at that time, I could just go and I could put my lips around her nipples and I could suck on her nipples and drink her milk three times, and then now we're family, right? That means that I cannot marry her ever, right? But she is now my mom, my milk mom, okay? Right, and I will show you how this is part of a fundamental part of Islamic teaching. This is Hadith, Sahih Hadith. And now I can talk to her. I can even hug her. We can sit next to each other. It's completely fine now. Islamically now, this is completely fine because she is now my milk mother, right? So just to make it clear that this is actually something that in Islam they talk about.
This was a real fatwa.
Yeah, this was a real fatwa back in May 2007. Dr. Izzat Atiyah, head of Al-Azhar University's Department of Hadith. So this is like, you can't get more authoritative than this. We're talking about Al-Azhar University, and the head of the Department of Hadith issued a fatwa or Islamic legal decree saying that female workers should breastfeed their male co-workers in order to work in each other's company.
That's a hell of an HR policy.
Yes, yes, right. And so, and just to be clear that this is all within Islam, right? We're not making this stuff up. This is which hadith? This is Sahih Muslim. Guys, the people who are follow this channel, they know that Sahih Muslim is like as authoritative as Islamic in Islam as you could get. So, and again, this is Messenger of Allah. Muhammad said this. This is Muhammad, right? Oh no, this is somebody talking to Muhammad, saying, Messenger of Allah, oh Muhammad, I see on the face of Abu Hudayfa signs of disgust. So there's a woman that is talking to Muhammad, right? On entering of Salim, who is an ally, into our house. So this is a woman who's talking to Muhammad. He's saying like, I think my husband, whenever this guy comes to our house, this guy, my husband, I think is disgusting. Whereupon Allah's apostle, Muhammad, responds, suckle him. Muhammad told this woman that if you have an issue with this guy coming into your house, then what you could do is you can suckle him, right? That's the solution that Muhammad is giving. She said to the woman, how could I suckle him as he is a grown-up man? This is an adult. Suckle an adult?
So
and
even
Muhammad
back
responds,
at that time, they were like,
yes.
Bruh, what?
What the hell? Yes, this is not like, well, it was normal back in the day. According to Islamic hadith, they were like, they had Pikachu face back then in response to what Muhammad said. They're like, what are you talking about? That woman was like, what are you talking about? That guy's an adult. You want me to breastfeed an adult? Allah's messenger, Muhammad, smiled and said, why did they include the smiling part? This makes it so creepy. It makes it so creepy.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, girl, don't worry. It's all fine.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Again, guys, here's all. We're not making this stuff up. Here's all the sources. You could see this is look it up, right? Muhammad smiled and said, I already know that he is a young man. Okay, and then what is this? Oh, I don't know what this is. Has
Amir?
Made this addition in his.
No.
Oh yeah, Amir has made this addition into his narration. Okay, so the rest is explaining when the context. And again, we have more hadiths here. Salim has attained puberty as men attain. Okay, so this is another one to show that Allah's apostles said to her, suckle him and you would become. Oh yeah, this is what Muhammad said. Suckle him and you would become unlawful to him. So people don't understand, like, what are you talking about? Why is he saying unlawful? If I suckle him, that means I could be in his company. Wouldn't that make him lawful? Unlawful here means unlawful in marriage. Unlawful means like he is now a member of your family. So in Islam, they have this weird way of referring to your members of your family as unlawful because you cannot fuck them, right? So you cannot fuck your mom, you cannot fuck your sister, you cannot fuck your daughter. So instead of referring to them as members of your family, you refer to them as unlawful. Imagine how, like, if you want to say refer to your daughter, right? You told them as, mahram, like unlawful in your family. So every time you want to refer to your daughter, you have to think about, like, if you're actually thinking about the meaning of the words, you have to think about like having sex with your daughter. Like, oh, person who I cannot have sex with. What a loving way to refer to members of your family, right? So Muhammad is saying, suckle them for them to become unlawful to you, meaning that they will become members of your family. So this is a method prescribed by Prophet Muhammad. And the most bizarre thing, you thought this is the end of fun, right? You thought this was the end of all the fun things that we had to show. This was the least ridiculous of all of this. The least ridiculous, because it gets so much better. So
Are we
I don't
going
know
into
if you
Sheikh
guys,
Albani yet?
yes, this is what I want to show you guys. Okay, so if you do not know who this guy is, this is Sheikh Albani. This is the most semi-contemporary scholar. I mean, almost. He died in 1999. This is one of the most Islamic scholars of our time. This is a guy that is so respected that he is like in par with like Bukhari and Muslim, in the sense that when he says a hadith is sahih, people in the Islamic world recognize him as sahih. Like, there's a lot of hadith books that if you open in Islamic libraries or bookstores, if you see a hadith is sahih, it's because this guy has put a sahih stamp on it. Like, this guy is a legend when it comes to modern Islamic scholars. He's recognized and respected by so many Muslims, right? I would say the biggest modern Islamic scholar. If maybe I'm exaggerating, but I don't think so, right? But let's see what he had to say about suckling and breastfeeding adults, because they went and asked him, and there's audio recording of this, by the way. There's audio recording. I played the audio recording in one of the shows, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they asked him, here's the problem, right? So the people who are no mahram to you, like the people that you're not supposed to look at, or they have to have the hijab on, the people who are not members of your family, it's not that it's illegal for you to have sex with them. It's also illegal for you to touch them. Like, for example, if I see Susanna, if I want to shake her hand, the fact that our skins are touching, that's illegal. That's haram in Islam. That's a no-no. Okay, so it's not just sex. It's I can't look at her. I can't touch her. I can't anything. That's all illegal in Islam, right? So people ask Albani, how the hell are you supposed to suckle a man before they're a member of your family? Because once they're a member of the family, then it's okay for me to touch them, hug them, look at them, right? But if at the point in time that I put my lips on her nipple, she is still not a member of my family. So my lips are touching her nipples. Does that not make it haram? Especially given that I have to suck, she has to suckle me 3 times. So, like, because some people say, like, maybe within time and space, the moment that you do the act of suckling, like when the lip touches the nipple, maybe immediately she becomes lawful to you for you to touch. But people were like, no, because it says it has to be 3 times. So that first time is still not good enough for her to be your milk mother. So your lips are touching your nipples, and you weren't supposed to even touch hands. Now you're touching nipple with lips. So how is that allowed? How is that allowed, Albani? Make this make sense, because a lot of Muslims were trying to make it make sense by saying, like, well, maybe she could put the milk in a cup and you could drink the milk. And they're like, no, do not change the hadith. The hadith that I showed you specifically says suckle. it specifically says suckle. Suckle requires sucking, okay, on the
I want to
nipple.
see you get a good latch.
Yes, yes. So Albani has the answer. Okay, here. So this is his opinion.
Guys, this is why I said at the beginning of the show, this is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes. So he says it is possible for his husband to use the means of his breastfeeding his brother. This brother would become the son of his wife through breastfeeding. So, for example, he's saying like if you're a man and you have a wife and you want your wife to be able to talk to your brother like they are okay, like they be privately next to each other and talk to each other. So your husband could get your wife to breastfeed your brother, and now your wife is your brother's mother, and that's fine. That works. Albani says that works out, right? And so here's why all of this works. So he says, I personally say I do not mind the breastfeeding occurs directly from the nipple. So Albani says that's okay. You don't have to use a cup. This is because it does not cause that which might bring temptation to the mind. Because with regards to temptation, it is when the flesh of the full breast is exposed. The nipple, as husbands know, is not a subject of desire because it is dark black. So he says, don't worry about lips touching nipples because nobody is attracted to nipples. Okay? This is the Islamic scholar talking about. Saying nobody in their right mind would be attracted to nipples because nipples are black and nobody is attracted to black skin. So that's why it's okay. It's the breast that is sexually desirable. It is not the nipple that is sexually desirable. So as you could make the nipple showing without the breast showing, and it's fine because that is not going to cause temptation. So I don't know if this is racist or not. Also, I don't know, is this guy saying that nobody is attracted to black people because they have dark skin? I don't know if this man knows that some women have pink nipples. Not all nipples are black.
When you get pregnant, your nipples get dark.
Okay.
This is a part of pregnancy. Your nipples darken, and then you can breastfeed.
Is there any exception? Okay, so that's fine then. That works out. That checks out. So, anyways, by the way, this is what Islamic scholars sit around and think about. That if you're wondering, what do these great scholars spend their resources on? This is it. This is it.
But here's the thing: if this is a rule that exists, it is a question worth asking. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if this is a way to become family or whatever, but you're not family up to that point and temptation can be caused, it is a genuine question. I had a similar question. Well, if these are the rules that are established, how are you supposed to get that milk?
Yes. Yeah, and this is why I completely agree with this. Mufti Armin agrees with this law because this could end up you not knowing that you're fucking your mom. Right? Again, YouTube, we do not accept this. Like I'm just saying this is what Islamic this is so dangerous. Like imagine you're spreading milk around everywhere and like you're just making people mothers of other people without them knowing who's the mom of who. So Islam is very concerned about making sure that you do not have sexual intercourse with your mom. But if this milk is in the public and you don't know who's your mom, you might have so many moms, and then you get married and you have sex with them, and then you're just having sex with your moms. You have a whole nation of having sex with their moms. This is why it was very reasonable for the Pakistani authorities to come stop all this motherfucking.
It was so funny. And because I know this stuff, right? Like D sent me this news and it just has the headline like Pakistan shuts down breast milk bank. I don't even have to read the article. I already know what the issue is. I already know like what the contention is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what we're stuck with. This is what we're stuck with.
Well, I thank you for the Pakistani authorities. Thank you for your servers. Thank you for saving the society from all this evil. We appreciate your service. This is what Pakistanis could sleep rest assured at night, that their officials are doing the hard work in making sure that they protect them in every way imaginable. Except if you get accused of blasphemy, then you're on your own.
Mm-hmm,
of course.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes.
Reincarnation Entertainment, let's do some super chats. Gave a super chat saying, consider donating to Atheist Republic, guys. They are some of the best atheists out there. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Arjun gave a super chat saying, considering how things are in Pakistan, do you think the partition in the general concept of separate countries for separate religions is a good idea? No, I honestly think that partition was one of the worst things that happened in the 20th century.
Yes.
Disaster. We probably could have saved a lot of Bengalis, a lot of pain, if it wasn't for the bullshit that East Pakistan put them through after partition. I mean, unmitigated disaster. You know, that maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Trells gave a super chat saying, Armin, Google this, Israeli nurse Arab baby. Well, I'm going to be honest, those keywords do not render anything, but I think I found what you were referring to, which is a story about an Israeli nurse that breastfed Arab Israeli boy that when his mom was unconscious because of a car crash.
Ooh. That I can see the drama there.
Jay gave a super chat, thank you, saying, I saw in the news that the general public are against it too. Oh yeah, so the public was against the milk bank. Imagine the level of rot in Pakistan. This country is beyond the point of redemption, like a stage 3 cancerous tumor. What an insane country. I don't know. One of the worst.
I think it's Pakistan and North Korea, I don't are the two up there when it comes to the level of insanity. That I don't know which one wins.
What about Afghanistan?
Well, Afghanistan and Pakistan and North Korea is also, the problem is very top down. Like, it's not just bottom up; it's also top down. Afghanistan is like the economic foundation, the values is so within the population. Like, for example, we could fix North Korea if we just get the different officials, right? We could fix Pakistan if we have certain politicians with certain values come in and change the structure of the country, right? But Afghanistan,
I don't know about that. They might get assassinated.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Okay, fine. I agree with that. Afghanistan as well. Are we missing anyone else? Afghanistan, Pakistan, North Korea.
Those are the ones jumping out at me.
Yes, these are the 3 countries. Okay, so here's why I say Pakistan and not Afghanistan, because it makes sense to me. Afghanistan, the insanity and the barbarism and the radicalism, it's just like pure barbarism, right? It's just pure terrorism. But when it comes to Pakistan, you get stories like, what is this, the Onion? Like, when it comes to Afghanistan, we get when it comes to Afghanistan, you just get headlines that it's just tragic. But when it comes to Pakistan, you get headlines that are tragic and are like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, is this a joke? Like, that's the difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, North Korea has headlines sometimes like that too. This is why I think North Korea and Pakistan are in a different. It's barbaric, but it's also just weird. Afghanistan is just barbaric and evil and cruel. You don't get Onion headlines that much from Afghanistan.
Okay, GJ gave a super chat saying, Wilders' party is remarkably socialist. Wilders understands quickly his socioeconomic policies had to include fair taxing, welfare, etc. I think this had to do with you talking about their protectionistic flair.
Yeah, protectionist and isolationist, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
everything, I support these parties' stance on Islam, on migration, but economic plans, and I think there's much to be desired.
Erican just became a member. Oh, hi, great. Thank you, Erican. Welcome to Satan's Minions. GJ gave another super chat and said, oh, and did you know you can't die in a UK government building? What does that mean? You can physically die there. Do they not just write it down? Yeah.
Don't challenge me.
Challenge accepted. Kenny gave a super chat saying, so you can't show your hair as a woman, but you can breastfeed a grown man. Well, because no one's going to be attracted to the nipple anyways.
Yes, you have to just make sure that there's a tiny hole.
Don't show the breast. Show the nipple.
Don't show the breast. Just show the nipple. Yes. Yeah.
Have like a glory hole, but it's just for nipples.
The nipple. Yes.
You have a sheet.
Also, when you're sucking, make sure you don't push your head forward so that you don't feel the breast, because that might be attractive. Make sure you're just like sucking without actually pushing your face forward so you could feel the breast. Because even if you don't feel the breast, even if you don't see the breast, just feeling the breast pushing on your face might actually be arousing. So just make sure you pull while you're sucking.
Obviously. I mean, this is all completely logical. We're adults here. DJ gave another super chat saying, but Muslims marry their cousins all the time. Many do, not all cultures.
That's allowed. No,
but cousins but guys, let's be clear. But this is the incest that matters.
Yes.
But milk kinship is the incest that matters. In the article that we did on this, I think D included a tweet where someone was saying this is essentially the equivalent of if you donate blood, that you are now blood siblings with someone. Like if you donate blood, you don't consider the person that gets your blood like now part of your blood family. Of course not. That's ridiculous.
No, but this is spiritual. This is like milk. The act of milking is like, it's not just physical stuff. There's something spiritually happening between the woman and the man when you suck on
milk, mommy's milk.
Yeah.
GJ. Oh, Gasian gave a super chat saying not to kink shame, but hey, this is just because you're gay and you don't get it. You don't get it.
You're just. Yes, you just kink shamed all straight people. It's not, being straight is not a kink, Asian American. I know it's rare. It's like you don't understand straight people, but this is part of being straight. If it's so widespread, it's not a kink anymore.
Trells gave a super chat saying hashtag Muslim mommy issues. GJ gave another super chat saying, why are the big world religions always so sex fixated? The Abrahamic tradition has a big problem with sex. This is very, very true. I know Armin is a lot more knowledgeable about the history and evolutions of religions than me. I know
Christianity actually makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, as soon as we became civilized, as soon as we started producing more calories than we could, more calories per person when we started farming, then people specialize. And when people specialize, so one of the most important specializations was guarding, being soldiers. And all of a sudden, men's physical superiority to women made them in control of all resources. And that made turned the body of woman into a resource as well, turned them into a commodity. So of course it would, when it comes to the survival of the memes, the ideologies that if more effectively manage this precious commodity, which is the body of a woman, the most effectively would survive more. So of course they would try to come up with rules and regulations, like just in the same way that you have regulations for trade. The body of the woman will become one of the most important commodities that needed to be up managed effectively for the leaders and the people of power to be able to control the population the most effectively. So having strict laws and regulations when it comes to ideologies that grew after we started our first city states was the only natural thing that could have happened afterwards, right? It's just it would have been exactly the other way around if women had more muscle than men on average. It would have been exactly the same thing, but the other way around. Men would turn into commodities.
Some of you would like that. This person, don't know their names, gave super chat saying many vloggers traveled and recorded in Xinjiang. Western media is nonsense. There is no ban on namaz or halal in China, but extremism isn't allowed. China has same law for all, unlike hypocrite EU. Okay, there's just too much to unpack here, but
yeah,
do you understand how like tightly controlled the people who are allowed to come in and out of China, especially that region, are, and what they are and not allowed to film, and who they are and are not allowed to speak to, and that it's all guided and pre-planned and okay,
yeah.
There are a lot. Okay, this is too much to get into right now.
Don't get into let me just give you a short response. You cannot regulate out bad ideas. It will not work and it will backfire. Okay, this is why this channel promotes a different way to fight Islam. There is no way, let's ban Islam, let's ban bad ideas. It doesn't work. It backfires. It always backfires. So yeah, I mean, it's good to be against extremism, it's good to be against Islam, but this methodology that Chinese government is using is not going to make these bad ideas go away. But yeah, that's good.
Jay gave a super chat saying, "You think Saudi should change the holy book, like make a random story that Allah appeared in our dreams and he wants the Quran changed? That book is the whole problem. Maybe put some nice things in there." Anyone who is claiming to receive revelation better have good security. That's all I'm going to say. There are many central things that about Islam as a faith that make this whole idea impossible. It's already supposed to be perfect. It's already supposed to be uncreated. Muhammad is supposed to be the last prophet, the seal of the prophets, the last one to receive revelation. That's the entire point. So I don't think this would go over very well. And I don't think people would believe it. I don't think they would buy into it. Asian American gave a super chat saying, would Chinese sworn brotherhoods be recognized as kinship under Islam? As Muhammad turmoil be upon him, said, seek knowledge unto China. Well, what is the process for a Chinese sworn brotherhood? Like, is this a blood oath? Do they do like a handshake underneath a full moon? Like, what's the full ritual here? Does it involve suckling from the same woman? Okay, we have key questions we need to establish about this process. And GJ gave a super chat saying, a small island housing an utterly xenophobic tribe of cannibals somewhere near South Korea, so Coast Guards patrol it because researchers all get eaten. I don't know what this has to do with anything. In South Korea?
Hey, by the way, King Knight, I timed out you. I want to make sure I didn't ban you because you were spamming. I'm looking into our people who were banned. I want to make sure you were not banned. You were spamming. You posted the same message like 100 times. So if your timeout is finished, please leave a comment in the live chat so I make sure that I did not ban you. Okay, but guys, can you please not spam the live chat? Can you, if you want to leave a comment, can you just leave it once instead of like 50 times? Because that would be spamming, and then I would have to put you on timeout. And D is also warning you guys. Thank you, D. All right, let's go to the next news, maybe.
Yes, let's go to the next news, and then after I read the summary, I'm gonna go take a quick break, and then I'll be right back.
Okay, hold on. Why can you remove this? I'm gonna highlight. Oh, there we go. Okay, is it clappable?
Yes, this is very interesting.
All right. Next news.
Israel rocked with protests as it ends ultra-Orthodox exemption from the IDF. Israel is facing significant domestic crisis as protests and riots erupted following a landmark Supreme Court decision to end the long-standing military service exemption for ultra-Orthodox Jewish men. This ruling, which also prohibits government funding from religious schools, aka yeshivas, whose students don't participate in the draft, so they'll actually pull funding away from these yeshivas, has ignited fierce opposition from the ultra-Orthodox community. The situation has escalated into violent demonstrations, with protesters attacking police and even a cabinet minister's car. This controversy threatens to destabilize Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's governing coalition, as ultra-Orthodox parties play a crucial role in his government. The tension is further heightened by the ongoing war against Hamas in Gaza, where over 600 IDF soldiers have been killed. This development represents a significant shift in Israeli society, challenging deeply entrenched religious exemptions, and potentially reshaping the country's political landscape. Okay, so you give your initial reaction, and then I'll be right back.
All right, I want to know, how did Netanyahu, so people from Israel, please tell me, this is a huge threat to the coalition that Netanyahu has in place. Why? Again, I haven't followed the details of the timing here. From all the times that this would be done, I mean, I'm happy, I'm grateful that this is happening, and I will say why, because Kenny has a fair point here, which I will respond to. I mean, I disagree with him though. But why would this happen now, given how loosely this coalition that Netanyahu has with these two other right-leaning parties, far-right parties, and how much they're threatening to leave this coalition and for Netanyahu's government to collapse? Wouldn't this basically spark because this is a huge red line for them. This is a huge red line for those two other parties. And isn't this a threat to the stability? I mean, not that I'm not welcoming it. I'm just wondering why it's happening exactly at the time that is the most sensitive and the most dangerous to the coalition that Netanyahu has. So do you have the answer to this? Why is Netanyahu doing this now?
So he didn't do this now. This was a decision from the Supreme Court. Now, there have been talks about bills to basically the Supreme Court ruled that they can't have this exemption. And there was talks about bills and so forth along this line for a very long time. And the ultra-Orthodox part of his coalition would basically threaten to pull everything apart because of this. No, so my understanding, and I do not know the ins and outs of the Israeli civic structure, okay, but my understanding is that the Supreme Court made this ruling, and now the Knesset has to present a bill about how they would implement this along the lines of the ruling. So that's how we're going to really see how the cookie crumbles. And I was watching some different analysis last night to try to answer this exact question you were asking. And some people think, oh yeah, well, this is going to just rip everything apart. And then some people are saying, well, I don't know if it's going to completely rip everything apart, because at the end of the day, the ultra Orthodox parties know that they're probably not going to get a more favorable government than what they already have. So they might complain, people might be going crazy in the streets, but at the end of the day, they might not really be going anywhere. I don't know which is true. Either way, the implementation of this policy is going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes down, because when I was researching this news, I actually started researching about the groups within the IDF. There already are ultra Orthodox groups within the IDF, and they have
Yeah,
their
but they
own
choose to be
units.
there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
those are
yeah.
the ones who choose to be there. Yeah.
I know, but the point being is that they kind of need special accommodations. So they're going to be all male units. They need the highest standards of kosher food. I was reading interviews of mothers who are ultra Orthodox and their sons are in the IDF, and they're complaining that, well, they do the best that they can to maintain their religious tenets, but they don't always have enough men to do the quorum needed to have certain prayers. And a bunch of the community is completely against it, because they basically see this as a path to secularization of the community. And other people were talking about, oh, the ultra Orthodox that have gone into the IDF, like a lot of them leave, like this is a huge problem. There was something else I learned, is that when this war started, there was, I don't remember the exact number, I think it was 1,000 to 4,000 ultra Orthodox men actually came forward and volunteered for the IDF. And all of them were rejected except for a few hundred, because I don't think the army has the capacity to accommodate all of them and their lifestyle at this point.
Wow.
So my understanding is that the vast majority of the Israeli public approves of ending these exemptions, that it is an undue burden upon the rest of Israel. There's two issues, and I was watching a lot of Israeli commentators on podcasts and stuff talk about it, and they're like, this was kind of at first an issue of a moral principle of the rest of society having an undue burden towards a community that has lower job participation in higher what's the word I'm looking for? They take more from the state, they take more services from the state, but they have a disproportionately low labor participation. And so there's already so much that the state is doing to subsidize a community in a way of life that is not proportionally giving back to the rest of the country. But then this is, for many Israelis, like a step too far, when they're being separated from their children, where their children are risking their lives, or their children are dying. And meanwhile, this other community is out on the street, saying that this country shouldn't even exist in the first place, but they're benefiting from the social services and they're benefiting from the subsidies, and they don't have to participate. They're like, this is just completely unfair. And so there's a high degree of support for ending these exemptions. But then many people that I was watching, again, that's not representative of everyone, but we're like, okay, I completely agree that we have to end the exemptions, but at the same time, they have an understanding that they don't have the accommodations necessary to like integrate them into the military. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these things actually pan out, because like I said, the bill actually needs to be presented in what that looks like. I don't know. What's interesting is that it's only ultra Orthodox men who are part of this exemption, not women. And the women can do other things like national service, I believe.
Look at this. Look at this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Look. Wow. So they're so angry that they have to actually do something.
And there are lots of interviews with people in the ultra Orthodox community that agree, they're like, we're not going to do this. We would rather die than do this. because a lot of their
Yeah,
argument
but they rather, it's not just this. They're against doing anything. Like it's not. They're not. I just want to make this clear. I've been to Tel Aviv. I met these people. Okay, it's not that they're against going to war. They're against work in general. They just want to sit at their home or at their religious centers and just read the Torah and the Talmud. That's all they want to do. They would be as angry if you ask them to do anything else.
because
But they go on. Yeah.
a lot of them what was the wait, I just lost my train of thought. Crap.
Yes.
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, no, I remember my point. They're saying, oh, okay, we might be home, but we're engaging in constant prayers, and our constant prayers are our battle. Our constant prayers are our battlefield, and it is our prayers that is actually protecting Israel. So we shouldn't need to go out and conscript.
Thank you so much. You know what? I don't think Israel would have a chance against Hamas if we weren't home just praying so hard. I mean, what is the real weapon? What is actually protecting Israelis? Is it the Iron Dome or is it the prayers? I think it's the prayers. I would think it's the prayers. Yeah. I mean, you ungrateful Israelis complaining about these people, calling them freeloaders and stuff. Everything you have, all the protection that Yahweh is, the reason why Yahweh is protecting Israel is because these people are part of it. You should be grateful. You should be like, these people are protecting you more than your army. You have no idea. You're just being ungrateful. By the way, they're so hated. I don't know if my experience, I'm not saying my experience represents, it's not a scientifically collected data, but when I went to Israel, I mean, to be fair, most of the people I talked to in Israel were like secular atheist activists, but they hate these people. Like, they hate these people so much. I mean, if you go talk to atheist activists in Israel, they're more obsessed about talking about these guys than Islamists. Because they think that, I mean, to be fair to them, Israel becomes weaker against her enemies because of these people. Like, even if you think that the main threat is like Islamic terrorism, yeah, but to stand strong against Islamic terrorism, you need a strong country. And these people make your country weak. I mean, some people say, is it a coincidence that October 7th happened at a time when the most religious, far-right, ultra-Orthodox government in Israel was in power? We were the most weakest, when that happened. Yeah. So, and I want to respond to some of the comments before we go to the super chats. Amichai is saying it's not the right-leaning party that is the problem. It's the religious parties that are. Right? I didn't say right. I'm not anti-right. Okay, when I say far right, I actually mean far right. And don't call anybody who is just a little bit right-leaning far right. I'm talking about these religious parties are far right. Okay, again, I am not against right-leaning parties, but by far right, I don't mean people who are anti-Islam. Anti-Islam does not make you far right, makes you just correct, makes you right. And being anti-immigration, Islamic immigration, doesn't make you far right. When I say far right, I'm talking about people with fascistic tendencies, with racist views, okay, with extremely religious ideologies. And these two other parties, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, they are religious. I mean, you act like religious and far right are separate from each other. Religious and far right are complementary. They're completely in line with each other. Again, and I didn't say right, I said far right. There's nothing wrong with being right leaning, right? And Muhammad saying, how does Israeli secular people feel about these people? Well, based on my experience in Israel, as I mentioned, they hate them. They hate them with passion. And also, I want to respond to this. Kenny was saying pulling funding is good from these religious organizations. Forcing a draft is not. Well, I mean, it depends. First of all, the people are not commenting on whether or not these forcing people to draft is right or wrong. But if there is forcing of drafted, these people should be included. Like, if you have the draft, then these people should be included. Whether or not we should have the draft at all or not is a separate discussion. But I would argue for a country like Israel, it's okay, you need to draft people. Like Israel, a country that its very existence is threatened to as much as Israel is. It makes complete sense for them to have, forcing of a draft of people. I think it makes sense for Israel. If it makes sense for a single country, I might agree that it doesn't, like other countries having forcing drafting. I would like, yeah, why would you do that? Just have a powerful military. But with Israel being such a tiny country surrounded by enemies, I think if it makes sense for one country, it would be Israel.
Do they really have the luxury of a choice? Is the question.
No.
I don't know if they do. And part of the motivation behind this is that with the current war, they have been constantly redeploying reservists. It's like, we can't be constantly depending on reservists. We need soldiers.
Yes.
I think people, it's a luxury that they don't have.
Yeah, it's a luxury that people in other countries don't understand that they have, because they talk about rights and freedoms and they forget the most important right. Like people in other countries, that they when their very existence is not threatened, they talk about all these other rights without remembering that the whole point of these rights is survival. Right? All these other rights that you are defending, the whole point is survival. Your right to life, it comes before every other right that you're fighting for. Because what's the point if you can't even survive? What's the point of having rights if you're not even alive to enjoy them? Anyways, we have some super chats. Are they relevant to the news? Because if they're not, I'm going to put the news down.
Yeah, some of them are pretty funny. Drew gave a super chat saying Atheist Republic title is like, Germany wants citizenship, recognize Israel, but the content is like, the nipple is halal, baby. We can see it and touch
it. Well, the title is the first news that we covered, so we did cover that. Yeah. I mean, what do you want us to do, Drew? Do you want us to include all the 5 news items in our title? Because we cannot do that.
It's not going to work very well with the algorithm, which is a good reminder to like the stream. Okay, feed the algorithm gods. GJ gave super chat saying, I feel that all Qurans and Hadith bundles should come with a warning on the covers that say these incite bigotry, hatred, violence, wars, and worse. Well, who's going to enforce that? What Islamic publishing company is going to do such a thing like that? Come on now.
This might be, we already have precedent for that, because we do that for movies and other books which are not kid friendly. So we already have a standard. I think we should, I completely agree with this. In liberal countries, I think the Quran and Hadith, it should make it mandatory for them to come with a warning. And if anybody says, well, this is a violation of free speech, given that we already have set that standard for video games and movies and other books, to be a warning to like children, because I think that why should that be an exception for Quran? I think we need to make that a law. Like, we need to push for that. Yeah. But also the Bible.
Did Dave give a super chat saying they have big families? They are like Mormons. The secular Israeli population is declining, and the ultra-Orthodox will dominate the future Israel. And that's another motivation behind this this draft issue. Bull McLeod gave a super chat saying, "What are you doing, Milk Bro?"
Milk Bro.
What's up, Milk Bro?
That's actually what they call them. You are my milk brother. Imagine me. Milk Bro. Milk Bro. Oh, God.
Mi hermano leche. GJ gave a super chat saying, bye guys, I'm getting a Duvel Devil 6.66% beer. Well, enjoy your beer. Cheers.
That's amazing. Is that a thing? Do you actually have a beer that has 6.6? That's pretty cool. If that is a thing, that's pretty cool.
What kind of beer is it? I think my favorite is definitely sours. I'm a sours kind of girl. I hate IPAs. I hate IPAs. But that's a discussion for a different day.
Too hoppy for you?
Much too hoppy.
Okay. Okay.
You ready?
Is it clappable?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Today we don't have much like
no one died. There's no abuse. No one got molested today on the news.
Oh my god. Amazing. That's amazing. Today none of our news today included molestation, which is a very good day for Atheist Republic. Yes, very
it's an improvement.
Yeah, it tells you something about religion, that when we are covering religion-related news, we expect to have some molestation-related news somewhere. Like it's a normal day for us. So yeah. Anyways, next news.
UK Islamic school caught illegally segregating boys and girls. The Abu Bakr al-Ihsan Academy, an independent Islamic school in Walsall, United Kingdom, has come under scrutiny for continuing to unlawfully segregate boys and girls despite warnings from Ofsted, which is like the regulatory oversight body. The school, registered as a co-ed from ages 4 to 16, was found to be operating a separate provision for girls 11 to 16, which Ofsted deemed as, quote, unlawful discrimination and detrimental to both boys and girls. This practice violates a 2017 landmark ruling that declared segregation within the same school unlawful. The school's failure to address previous warnings and apply for separate registration for the girls' provision has raised concerns about its commitment to following regulations. Megan Manson of the National Secular Society emphasized the gravity of the situation, stating, quote, religious beliefs cannot excuse sex discrimination. If this school continues to put its religious dogma before the law and the welfare of its pupils, it must be shut down. This case highlights the ongoing tension between religious practices and educational standards in some faith schools in the UK. So, let me give an overview of what was going on here, because I actually went and read the Ofsted report about this school. So here's my understanding. There is this independent Islamic school in this town, and they have to do reviews to make sure that this independent school is operating to educational standards. And this school is registered as being co-ed for boys and girls between the ages of 4 to 16. Now, what the investigators found is that they are not allowing to join the school after the age of 11, and basically tacitly operating a single-sex school from the ages of 11 to 16. So all of a sudden, from 11 to 16, it's suddenly only girls' education, and boys cannot continue education. And so they're unlawfully doing this within the same registered school. Meanwhile, the school is saying, oh, well, we're going to apply to have a separate school that is only single-sex education between these ages. But then Ofsted went and looked back, and they're like, you've never applied to open up a separate school for only girls between these ages. So to that end, they have decided that this amounts to unlawful discrimination and are depriving girls the opportunity to be with boys of the same age range. And so you might ask, okay, well, what's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Based on the report that I read, it seemed like, the school is going to be working, the Ofsted is going to be working with the school to make sure that they come up to regulatory standards, because right now many those standards are unmet. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be facing any punishment or anything. It's like, they're going to be working with them to make sure that they come up to code. at what point of how many times they have to violate this or whatever that it suddenly becomes too much. I don't know. I don't know how these regulations and stuff work, but this isn't the first time that these kinds of instances have happened in Islamic schools in the UK. And in fact, it was the court case back in the day that established that this is unlawful discrimination was a case dealing with an Islamic school in the United Kingdom. That's my understanding. So that's the background on this.
You know, if this should be an opportunity, unfortunately, UK government is such a coward, but this would have been such a great opportunity instead of like a problem to just shut these schools down as soon as you see any hint of segregation. Like this should be a, this is a blessing that these schools want to segregate children, because this will weapon, if we had actually a government that was taking care of the values of the UK, this would be the best way to shut down Islamic schools, because it's one of their weaknesses. They cannot tolerate boys and girls mixing with each other. So you could make it mandatory for boys and girls to be mixing with each other, and also making it for social skills, and to make sure boys and girls have recognize each other as fellow human beings and have a history in their childhood of the communicating with each other. Because let's be fair, if boys and girls are separated from each other in elementary school and high school, that is going to make them a lot less socially equipped to deal with the society that they are going to be working in, and networking with other people, and just being a healthy citizen. So you should, as a country, if you I agree with that. Let me finish though. That is completely true. That is completely true. Boys need to see girls. Girls need to see boys in school. They need to learn how to communicate with each other. A lot of the reasons why some boys in some countries are not just awkward with boys, but also have very unhealthy views with girls, and a lot of the actions that predatory actions that boys have against girls is because of this alienation, is because of the separation. But I think with that mindset, with the understanding that this is required for boys and girls to have a healthy childhood development, you should be making it mandatory. You should have no boys school, no girls school. All schools should be mixed, and any school with the smallest hint of even attempting to separate boys and girls should be immediately shut down. This will be one of the most effective ways to shut down any organization that is spreading the virus of Islam. Because remember, your problem is internal. You cannot just close your borders and think that Islam is not going to spread. Islam is going to spread internally through these Islamic schools and organizations, and you should have laws that you could use to shut them down immediately. If you have the standard that either you mix boys and girls or your school is shut down, then you will be able to, with that law, you will be able to get rid of almost all Islamic schools. Well, yeah, go on.
I don't know. I am not completely against single-sex education. I went to an all school for a large portion of, not a large portion, like 4 years of my education. I thought it was very beneficial. There are lots of studies that show how single-sex education can be of particular benefit to girls because they are receiving individualized attention in the school place. They are in an environment where they are not going to be receiving like a lack of attention on certain subjects on gender biased assumptions of their capability. Like, for example, boys getting more attention in math classes or something like that. And it also provides a learning environment where they can just be more individualized and self-exploratory, and instead of being in an environment where they're like constantly monitoring how they are around the opposite sex. which is something that I directly experienced. And I think that was of a massive benefit to me. And I noticed how that influenced my life in comparison to my peers that went to co-ed schools during certain periods of their development. Um, so I think there are a lot of benefits, particularly for girls, to be in sex segregated schools in certain circumstances. Now, do I think that this is necessarily that correct circumstance? Maybe not, because let's be clear, this needs to be a circumstance where the reason why there is sex segregation is to provide the most rigorous, best, most competitive education to that girl child. Not a kind of environment where it's like we're going to be discouraging girls to be as intellectually rigorous as possible. Instead, we're going to be in an environment where we're encouraging girls to just be homemakers and teach them their place and that kind of thing. That's the opposite of what I'm looking for. But I'm just saying there are circumstances where it can actually promote the most intellectual, the most rigorous in tough, in the best learning environment for girls in certain circumstances. I think that's okay to acknowledge.
Okay, I disagree with that, but I don't want to get into too much. Let me just tell you, I think that in school, having gender bias, there is gender bias in school, but trying to address that gender bias by having all girls schools is replacing one problem with another problem. You would get rid of the gender bias issue, and those studies, I've seen those studies that notice the benefit, they're looking in a vacuum. They're only tracking the gender bias issue, and they're noticing that goes away, but they're not tracking the other problems that are added to it. Okay, the gender bias problem should be addressed by removing the gender bias in schools rather than ignoring the problem, like trying to create an environment where there cannot be a gender bias. Because isolating girls in an environment where there's no boys makes girls less safe, and it also makes women less equipped to deal in a world that men are, in charge of many things. Women have to know that how to deal with men. Girls have to learn, if you want to eventually get rid of that gender bias, women have to be equipped with the skills on how to negotiate, talk to, challenge, and defeat women and other men. If they're not growing up with men, that is a skill that a lot of them are not going to have. But also,
I don't know if they're being taught that in co-ed situations, to be fair.
It's not about, let me make my point. It's not about teaching them by your teachers. This is something that a lot of things that you learn in school is not actually taught. A lot of the things that you learn in school is just by being around other kids without anybody actively teaching you. Teamwork, cooperation. A lot of the things that you learn in school, you learn it in playtime, not in the class, right? A lot of the things that you learn in school is when you are bullied or when you see somebody being bullied. These are not things that, or somebody being unfair to you or somebody speaking about behind your back. These situations that you're in is not something that the teachers are teaching you, but you're learning them because you're in an environment that you're constantly networking, you're constantly negotiating, you're constantly being challenged or challenging other people. That's something that school teaches you without any teacher actually teaching you. But also, girls would be less safe, because if boys are not constantly networking and talking to other girls, then the relationship with girls is going to be very, very unhealthy. And if the relationship of boys with girls is unhealthy, that's a society where girls are going to be less safe. Again, so I acknowledge that the gender bias, but the solution is to address the gender bias in schools that boys and girls are fixed. That problem has better solutions. That's what I think.
I mean, I see your point. I see your point. I don't know. I just feel like, again, I'm biased because of my own experience, right? I think that when I was made to go to a single sex school. I didn't want to, but my parents made
Same
me.
as
And I
wasn't. Me too.
But that was governmental, right? In Iran, wasn't the government that segregates education?
Yeah. But I'm saying
That's
we're
different.
both me and you. Yeah. I know that's different, but I'm just saying both me and you. Like I could show you a lot of the things that I learned in school that it was amazing, and I could again. The reason why I'm saying that you referring to yourself is not a very. I mean, we could have any practice, any methodology, and we could find good examples and bad examples of people that had good experience with it and bad experience with it. But the sample size of one is not a very good way of evaluating.
No. Let me be completely clear. I am not using myself as evidence at all. I'm not using myself as anecdotal evidence. I'm merely identifying that I have a bias because of my positive personal experience.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing.
I understand. You're acknowledging your bias. So that makes sense.
I'm like, I had a positive experience. I think it was worthwhile. I think that it was a great benefit to my life. But like and so I'm just acknowledging that, and that's why it's influencing my opinion. That's all I'm saying. Regardless of that circumstance in those things that I think might cause a personally beneficial environment, doing it this way as what's happening in this school is illegal and not one of those circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not that positive environment.
Right.
So I don't want people to think that I'm like excusing this thing. I'm just like, maybe it's not necessarily bad in all circumstances, but this is not one of those.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if the government is going to do anything about it. They like don't shut down the Islamist charities that are inciting anti-Semitic hatred. They don't shut down the charities that are bringing in TLP politicians to be inciting violence against blasphemers. Like, they let these charities continue to operate again, and they like know it, and it's reported, and they do it again and again and again. Technically, I know the Charity Commission is a different branch of the government, but it doesn't lead you to like a hopeful sense that they're going to be taking appropriate action.
Guys, make me the government of the UK. I will just be like, yes, this is so great. I'm so glad that you guys can't not separate boys and girls. Like, you have to separate them. This is great. Now I have an excuse to shut all of you down. Thank you for having this weakness. I would be shutting down you first, and then if I made a mistake, then you go through the legal system and complaining about it. I would be shutting down every Islamic school with the assumption that you want to segregate boys and girls, and then you could come fight me in the legal system. That's what I would do.
No, okay. But here's the thing. Okay, because a lot of whether people want to, because I went to a Catholic all-girls school, right? So kind of a subtext of the Catholic all-girls school experience is like, you shouldn't be around boys that much because, sex. So, but the problem is that, especially in a certain age range, you're coming into puberty, you're coming into yourself. The human sexual interest cannot be repressed. So a lot of girls become interested in other girls. This is like, it's a stereotype about Catholic girls' schools that was, in my experience, had a grain of truth to it. It's like the Catholic, I don't know, in American culture, it's such a joke that the Catholic schoolgirls are like lesbians, and I'm like, there was a lot of girls dating girls. Now, the funny thing is from my experience, Harmon, and I don't know if you have any insight into this, is that I have had friends tell me who were boys going through sex segregated education, there was a lot of gay stuff going on in the all boys schools. Similar to how the girls were going at it at Catholic girls' school, I heard that there was a lot of gay stuff going on in the Islamic boys' schools. Have you heard any? And this is what people are telling me.
Yeah, even in our elementary school, there were sometimes kids would get caught, but they would go into the washroom, they would close the door, and they would get caught. They would get sent home. It was like it was an issue, in our school. I mean, it was an issue for the school. I remember this in elementary school, that was the case. I remember in high school, that was the case. Surprisingly, nothing in guidance school. But I remember, and I remember that specific kid that got caught doing something like that in the washroom to another kid. He actually, a few years later, died from cancer. I remember that. I remember that boy specifically. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So, that being said, we can promote because they we have to promote sex segregation to avoid any temptation between men and women. And I'm saying that's not going to be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why people are saying we should separate. It's like somebody in the live chat is like, no, Armin, we should separate them. Like, Armin, if you don't segregate it, it's a distraction. They will have sex. Okay, great. I mean, what are you talking about? High school? Like, they should have sex. They're at the age to have sex. What are you talking about? Are you talking about what? Like, oh, it's a distraction. They will have sex. Well, if they want to have sex, maybe they should be having sex. The problem is not the sex. The problem is whether or not they're having they're doing it the right way. They're doing it. They're using protection. They're doing the right thing to make sure. In fact, the problem is that the people who want to avoid, high schoolers having sex, they're not, whether or not they're mixed or not, they're going to have sex because they're going to find ways to have sex anyways, either with boys with each other, girls with each other, boys and girls outside of school. In fact, boys not being next to girls is going to make them try to seek sex somewhere else, and you make them so unhealthy and so sexually
repressed.
What is it called? Depressed, that when they go and try to satisfy their sexual desires, it's more likely for them to have to do something that is harmful to girls their age. So you shouldn't try to avoid them, stop them from having sex, because they are going to have sex one way or another. Like, teenagers are going to have sex one way or another. In fact, by not controlling it, you are going to be more likely to make it the type of sex that is not going to spread disease or harmful to either one of the people participating in the sex. Yeah.
There is so much evidence that abstinence-only sex education is not effective. It's not effective in preventing teen pregnancies. It's not effective in preventing the spread of disease. Just teach people how to use a goddamn condom, okay? Yeah. And then Dwight Jones is saying, better for boys and girls to be doing it than boy or girl on girl, Susie. Well,
why?
Because then Dwight was also complaining about teen pregnancy. Armin, you don't want teenage pregnancy. Well, a good way to avoid teenage pregnancy is same-sex interaction. So what do you mean it's better? Huh? I'm sensing an inconsistency.
Also, if you don't,
become a lesbian.
Yeah, if you want to, and also if you want to stop teen pregnancy, is by not telling them that they shouldn't be having sex. Telling teenagers not to have sex is the best way to get more teens pregnant. Because if you don't make it a taboo, if you make it normal, then it's more likely that you will be able to promote the ways to have sex that will get less girls pregnant. If you try to make it a taboo, then they are going to do it anyways, and then you have lost them and you cannot actually promote safe ways to have sex. Also, I agree that boy-boy sex and girl-girl sex is bad if the reason why they're having same sex is not because they're actually gay, it's because they have been so deprived of sex with these are sometimes straight boys and straight girls end up having. This is a result of, it might be something, it's kind of like having sex in prison. I don't know, actually. This might actually be wrong.
Wait, what?
No, like sometimes I think like boys and boys are having sex with each other, not because they're gay, but because they are so sexually frustrated and they have no other outlet. And that's why they're having sex with other boys, not because they're gay. I don't know if that's the case but if that's why we're having boy sex, like I support boys having sex with boys because that's what they want to do. But if boys are having sex with other boys, no, this is serious, Susie. If this is actually very serious when it comes to sexual health. If you should not be in favor of men having sex with other men, if the reason behind that is such a level of sexual frustration that that just shows a level of frustration that is not healthy. Yeah.
Oh my god, one time I went down a wormhole of finding people that took screenshots of like green text posts on 4chan, and there's a whole wormhole where you can go down of like 4chan incels talking about how they just downloaded Grindr just to get their dick sucked. Like, it's wild. It's wild. It's a whole, that's a whole wormhole. That's a whole different discussion. But that is a thing, even outside of prison or all boys school. Okay, so a few people were commenting on this. Erican was saying we actually did that in Turkey in the mid 30s for primary schools and higher education in early 90s in secondary schools. Okay.
Separation, he was.
Yeah. David the Goliath saying, I had experience as a teen, which I feel now would be 100% gay, but at the time I thought it was straight, like comparing the sizes of each other's D. That's not necessarily gay. I mean, are we talking flaccid or erect?
It's only gay it's not wrong if it's gay, but it's not gay if you were if you were sexually aroused by that experience, that would make it gay, which is okay if you were. But if you were not sexually aroused by that experience, it's not gay.
I don't know I think it's probably perfectly normal to be curious about comparing your D size with someone else. If I had a D, I would probably be curious. I'd be curious. But the question is,
you don't have to compare. There's averages online and everything. If you're trying to compare because this is an excuse for a sexual experience, then I get it. Yeah.
Boys being boys.
What is that?
I'm making a reference to one of my favorite YouTubers, and if anyone knows who that is, say so in the live chat or comment.
Charlie saying, don't forget bisexuals in front of Susie. Yeah, yes, when we're saying, okay, never mind.
Yes, fine. Drew Traver gave a super chat saying Daniel Hikikachu would have some time figuring out this school sex stuff. Bye Islam. Bye Daniel Hikikachu. I don't understand this because he would support sex segregation. Sid Dave is saying
he wouldn't
use condom, folks, always with no exceptions, and trust no one unless tested. There is something called PrEP, which protects from HIV. Thank you to Sid Dave to promoting some safe sex practices. Good on you.
What do you mean no exceptions? What if you're in a long-term relationship with a person that you are monogamous with and you are already both aware of each other's health issues? So don't always use condoms.
You would be tested, and then then it's established, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, what if you're trying to get your wife pregnant, Sid? Then always use condoms without exceptions.
Unless tested.
Oh, okay. But
honestly, even if you are in a long-term monogamous relationship, you should still get tested because there's so many stories of people's spouses cheating on them and giving them a disease, and that's how they find out. So you should keep getting tested anyways.
He said unless tested, but that contradicts no exceptions. That's a self.
Oh, you're being a stickler. Everyone should keep on getting tested. That's my belief. Gasian American gives super chat saying, aside from religion, there are other differences between Islamic madrasas and Catholic schools? Aside from the religion, are there other differences between the Islamic madrasas and Catholic schools?
Whoa.
I mean, that's very broad. They probably have different routines, like maybe different standards of education. Like, shoot, I don't know.
Did they make you go pray 5 times or 3 times a day in Catholic school? Probably not.
No. We had to wear little plaid uniforms. Did they wear plaid uniforms?
You know what? They didn't let me in girls' schools when I was in Iran, as much as I wanted to go inside one. In fact, I think I thought about being able to go inside one way too many times when I was a teenager, actually.
I see that for you.
So I don't know what's... Yeah. I don't know what's going on there in girls' schools in Iran, but Yeah, I wish it would let me in. I remember.
It remains a mystery to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a huge problem for me because I was going through puberty, right? I was very, very horny. And whenever I walked to school, there's a girls' school on my way. So while I'm walking to school, all the girls are trying to get into their school. I have to walk through them, right? And I was Islamically minded and horny at the same time. And every single day, I had to walk through all these girls to get to my school. It was a huge challenge. It
I
was
see where
very
this is
difficult.
going.
Yes.
Were you tempted?
Oh yeah,
Did you
I
have
had
to
to.
go? Did you have to go ask for
I
forgiveness
felt
afterwards?
I did. I did have to. I was constantly thinking like I'm failing Allah. It was very difficult. Yes.
The little authoritarian in your brain can see what you're thinking, Armin.
Yes.
Leora gave a super chat saying, I agree boys and girls should learn to deal with each other on a social level. I went to girls only in public as well as private. Public school, you understand the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so kind of agreeing more with Armin. And Sid Dave gave a super chat saying most homophobes have no problem with lesbian and bi women because it fits their threesome fantasies. It is the gay men which freaks these people out. Yeah, that's true. Well, and then also the transgender issue, nominally speaking. And the issue is basically it comes down to a disgust factor versus the other thing they find sexual and titillating. So then that's acceptable. And then the other one, they have a visceral disgust factor too. So they feel the need to be against all people in general, that fit into that thing. It's very easily predictable. But yes. I'm not answering this question from GJ. I don't think that's appropriate.
Oh, what was it? I'm curious.
That's super inappropriate. I'm very uncomfortable with that, and I'm not answering that super chat.
Yes,
so
DJ, that is very inappropriate. What's wrong? Why are you doing that? I didn't expect that from you. Okay.
Yeah. You're talking about girls who are minors and children. That's so inappropriate. So let's go to the last story. And this is very interesting. Yes, it is.
Okay. Next news.
Albania is destroying Islam. A significant shift in religious demographics is occurring in Albania and Kosovo, with implications for the historically Muslim majority region. Albania's recent census revealed that Muslims now comprise of only 45.7% of the population, marking the first time in over 2 centuries that they are not the majority. Simultaneously, the number of non-religious individuals and Orthodox Christians has increased. Meanwhile, over in Kosovo, a controversial movement called the called the Movement for the Abandonment of the Islamic Faith has emerged, aiming to counter religious extremism. The founder, Vesel Likaj, I don't know how to pronounce this, stated that their goal is to combat, quote, extreme and political Islam, but also Serbian Orthodox extremism. This movement, with its slogan, Let's Just Be Albanians, has as the true national identity, reflecting a complex interplay between religious and national identities within the region. These developments highlight a growing trend of secularization and reevaluations of religious identity among ethnic Albanians. So, 2 things. This is the first time in, I believe, over 2 centuries that Albania is now Muslim minority. And the second thing is, while I was researching this, I found out about this other movement of ex-Muslims in Kosovo, which I know is a separate country, but it's like 93% ethnically Albanian, and their kind of motto is about Albanianism and stuff. So I thought it would be kind of cool to touch on both of those. So I have more kind of background that I can get into, but Armin, give me your first reactions. You're muted.
This actually confirms something I have been saying a lot on this channel, because people say when you take away religion, what is left? What can you have to provide an alternative? And I always say we already have an alternative, because for a time when I came out of religion, I always felt that I believed in radical individualism. Then, as I become more experienced, I realized that individualism is good, but when it comes to humans are social animals, and we have an individual identity, but we also have collective identities. Collectivism is bad when it comes to judging people, but collectivism is required when you're trying to do teamworks, and also we have collective identities that makes us feel that we're part of a something bigger than ourselves that we're working towards. And religion provides that feeling to you. And religion does a very bad job at it, but without religion, what is the alternative? And people said that we have to come up with an alternative, but we don't need to come up with an alternative, because we already came up with an alternative, a much more useful alternative, which is civic nationalism. Ever since what we created the concept of a nation state, we also created the concept of civic nationalism. And it does all the things that religion does when it comes to providing a sense of identity, a group identity, providing you a sense of purpose, providing you a sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself, providing you a sense of working towards something that would live beyond you. It satisfies all those desires, all of those desires. And when I'm reading this all confirms that what I was saying is true. So there are now increasing efforts by some Albanians to distance themselves from Islam and assert a more secular, nationalist Albanian identity, right? So we already have that nationalist Albanian identity. You don't need other religions. You don't need to replace Islam with Christianity. You don't need to replace Islam with some atheist religion. Nationalism works here. Nationalist Albanian identity. This includes a new movement in neighboring Kosovo that calls on Muslims to abandon Islam, viewing it as incompatible with Albanian nationalism. This is amazing. This is now the second country that I'm seeing that this is working in large numbers. Because when I said that this works, this will work, people will think that we have anecdotal evidence. But we always refer them to Iran. The reason why it's so easy for Iranians to come out of Islam and accept a post-Islam life is because people hold on to Islam not because it rationally makes sense. People hold on to Islam because it serves two purposes. It works as their identity card, right? And it also works as their membership card. A lot of atheists don't understand this. Many atheists, because they have chosen to be atheists, because they thought that their religious beliefs was incompatible with reality. And many atheists think that the way to promote people coming out of Islam or other religions is to show religious people that their beliefs are incompatible with reality. But that's a misunderstanding. They think people's beliefs are a tool for them to recognize reality, to identify what is real. But that's not the utility of religion. That's why, debates and talking, that works with other religious people who are actually very concerned about their beliefs matching reality. It works on some religious people. But most religious people, that's not why they are religious. Their religion is their membership into a community. Their religion is their identity. This is like who I am. So if you take Islam away from them, it's not like, oh, here's what is real. They don't care. Like, they don't actually care what is real. You took away my identity. You took away my community. So how do you fight Islam? Is with a different identity. You cannot fight Islam with just rationalism. You fight Islam with an identity. You fight Islam with membership. You have to provide them with a different membership card and a different identity, not just rationalism. And it's working. It has worked in Iran. The reason why it works so well in Iran is because Iranians have a very strong sense of nationalism And that's why getting rid of Islam has been so effective, because people don't feel like they're in a vacuum. If you take Islam away from Muslims in Iran, they already have an alternative strong Iranian identity, so they don't feel the gap. They don't feel like there's an empty space in their heart that they need to fill with something else. It's already filled with thousands of years of deep-rooted identity within that society. And now we have Albania. Guys, if you also see examples of this, like people feel like, oh, Armin, you're wrong. This ideological battle is not going to work. If you want to fight Islam, you have to fight Muslims as well. You could see a Muslim majority country. The second, so Iran was a Muslim majority country. Iran is now a Muslim minority country, purely only through ideological battle, not by kicking out Muslims, not through an ideological battle has turned Iran from a Muslim majority country to a Muslim minority country. And now we're seeing it work in another former Muslim majority country. It's working here as well. So this can be done. And if it can be done with countries that were already Muslim, then it can also be done with countries that Islam is rising. Like if this is hope for Iran, that used to be Muslim majority, then for UK, France, and Germany, who's not even close to being Muslim majority, that methodology should be copied in those countries as well. You should go target the next generation of these people. It's important for you to promote nationalism. It's important for you to promote a sense of being a UK citizen, being British, the British identity, the French identity, the Canadian identity, the American identity. Make the next generation of Muslims who are being born in the UK feel like I am a citizen of the UK before I even think about my Muslim identity. When they're thinking about who they are and what group they belong to, Canadian or being part of Canada should come to their mind before they even think about Islam or being a Muslim. That's how you win this battle. We should study Albania and Iran and try to replicate what has been working in other countries.
Well, the first step is that those countries actually have to reassert and affirm that their values are good and worth preserving and believe in them and not apologize for them, which is going to be difficult because their own native population is struggling to, I don't know, with a lack of meaning or moral meaning or something. So that's its own separate cultural project. But what's so interesting is, go ahead.
No, just one other country. We are now seeing this work also with many Muslims in Israel. A sense of being Israeli identity is growing among Arabs in Israel. So that's another thing that we could follow and see what's happening there. But go on, sorry.
Well, this story caused me to go look into the demographics of Albania a little bit anyways. And it was so interesting. So basically, a Pew study found in 2012, so this is long before this specific census that revealed this new Muslim minority, saying that, so over 12 years ago, only 15% of the Muslim population considers religion to be an important factor in their lives, which was the lowest percentage in the world of countries with a significant Muslim population. Another survey conducted by Gallup showed that religion plays a role for 39% of Albanians and lists Albania as the 13th least religious country in the world. Also, random Albania W, also in Albania, the majority of males are not circumcised. Big W for Albania. Great job, guys.
Wow.
And now let's talk about the beliefs of the people that are still remaining Muslims. So this is from a Gallup poll from 2016 about the beliefs of Albanians. And remember, this is for all Albanians, but we can extrapolate to think about how many of the Muslims in Albania fit into this category. Armin, listen to this.
Hmm.
80% believe that there's a God. Only 40% believe in life after death. 57% of people believe that there is a soul. Only 40% believe in hell. And only 42% believe in heaven. Now, please explain why that is significant to people.
You cannot be a Muslim unless you believe in life after death. These are parts of the articles, like 7 articles of faith within Islam. If you don't believe in Qiyamah and life after death, you're not Muslim. This is so much in line with, these are similar to Iranian numbers, right? So a lot of the people who left Islam in Iran, they did not join other religions. So that means 20%. So you're saying 80% believe in God. So they left Islam. They kept their belief in God. They didn't join other religions. So they are nuns. Basically, these are people with no religion, but they hold the belief in God. But 20% atheism, 20% lack of belief in God is huge, is very much in line with some of the most advanced countries in the world. Iran has also a 20% lack of belief in God, and also very similar numbers when it comes to lack of belief in the afterlife. So remember, that shows that majority of people believe in God, but they have no religion. They believe in no religion. From religion, they only kept the God part. They don't believe in afterlife. They don't believe in Christianity. They don't believe in Islam. So these are what we call nuns, right? 20% number is 20% atheism is a very, very high number, right? So the fact that both Iran and Albania have reached 20% atheism, you don't see these kind of numbers unless you are like a Western European country or like Canada or like something like that. And so also, I think the United States has also reached close to 20%, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is not just a country that Islam is a minority. This is a country that religion is a minority as a whole. So they have left Islam and not joined any other religion. The only part of religion that they hold is the belief in God. Yeah. You're muted, babe. You're muted.
Sorry. According to the census, only 4% declared themselves to be officially atheist. A solid 19.4% declared themselves to be a non-denominational believer. And then 10% gave no answer. And it's one thing that I did find interesting is that there was a 15% general decline in the population. And so part of this change might be driven by immigration patterns, which is interesting to consider because the population as a whole dropped by 15%.
Yes, yeah. But the percentages, if the population dropped, then the percentages changing is not because people with secular or atheistic minded are coming in. Maybe you're saying people with religious minded left. Yeah. But it does seem to be a drive. Let me actually make a clarification regarding what a lot of people don't understand, why I say 20% atheists when 4% identify themselves as atheists. Because this is similar to the Iranian numbers. In Iran, only 8% identify themselves as atheists, but I always report 20% are atheists. So when it comes to atheists, there are people who are atheists and people who self-ID as atheists, right? Based on the definition of atheism, if you lack belief in God, you're an atheist, whether you identify as an atheist or not. So when these polls are asking, are you an atheist? That percentage will give the number of people who are self-ID as an atheist, not all the people who are atheists. The question that says, do you believe in God? The people who say no, that gives you the actual number of the people who are atheists. So, for example, in Albania, 20% of people don't believe in God. That means there are 20% atheists, 4% self-ID as an atheist. In Iran, 20% of people don't believe in God. That's the actual percentage of atheists. 8% self-ID as an atheist. They call themselves atheists. So just wanted to make sure that we understand the difference.
Yeah, so kind of interesting happening in the, yeah. And I just thought it was so funny because we always give Albania as example as like a secularized Muslim majority country. And now we can't do that anymore. Because Albania
So
was
yeah, and
the
Kosovo
first
too.
and only ever officially state atheist country back under Soviet rule. It isn't
Yeah, that's the
anymore.
government. We have to, when
Yeah.
we're talking about countries, we have to talk about the government and the people separately. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only state atheist country, which we don't, by the way, Susanna, I don't want to put words in your mouth. But we here at Atheist Republic are against state atheism, right?
Yes.
Yes, we are secular. We believe in secularism, and believing in secularism means that the government does not hold a position. It does not endorse a religion and doesn't take a position against religion. The government just stands back and provides an environment where the best ideas could prosper. Right? The government is responsible for creating a safe place where society could have the tools for itself for ideas to compete in a peaceful way and for the best ideas to survive and outcompete the other ideas. It itself needs to have a secular position. That means not take a position for or against any religions. So we are atheist activists, but because we're also secular activists, we do not support any state atheism. Does that make sense? Yes.
So let's go to the super chats. Okay. Eric can give a super chat saying, fun fact, the number 2 executive in OpenAI, Ermira Morati, is an ex-Muslim Hindu with Albanian origin. Interesting.
Oh, wow. That's a very good information to have. Thank you.
So Dave gave a super chat and saying, aren't Albanians in Kosovo white Muslims? They were converted from Christianity under Ottoman occupation. Anyways, good for them. They abandoned Islam. Well, I mean, what the Balkans were put through under the Ottoman Empire is chilling to the bone. If anyone, I was recently on vacation, randomly got sucked into a little bit of Balkan history, and I was like, holy fuck. No bueno. And this video I was watching was talking about how a lot of their cuisine evolved to have pork and wine in it because the Muslim troops would come their feasts and stuff. So they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. We cooked everything with pork and wine. I'm sorry, dude. You can't eat any of this. My bad. I'm sorry. And apparently littering became very normal because the Ottoman troops were in charge of kind of doing some groundskeeping and stuff. So they would throw all their trash into the street as a way to give an FU to the Ottomans. I don't know how true this is, but this is what I heard. Because it's a practice called not or something.
This is a good time to remind people that the word slave comes from Slavs from the Balkans. That this is, the fact that is when you say what Islam did to the Balkans, that's actually why we refer to slaves as slaves. It comes from Slavs because of Islam taking slaves from the Balkans.
Yeah. Okay, so and Dolly is here. Hi, Dolly. Dolly is one of our amazing AR team members. And reminding everyone to like the stream. We have almost 830 people watching us right now. A lot of them are on Twitter. So if you're watching us on Twitter right now, you have to come over and join us on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We put out a lot of other videos that don't get on Twitter. And make sure to like and support the channel.
Keep that highlighted. Keep that highlighted, please. Don't. Yeah, because Dolly, I just want you to pay attention to her profile pic, because Dolly is not just an activist online. Dolly is an activist on the ground, doing the hard work in Georgia, fighting against Russian intervention in Georgia, going into the streets, joining the protests, fighting for liberal values on the ground. Thank you for your service, Dolly. thank you for protecting Europe. Dolly is protecting Europe from Russian values, illiberal values coming from Russia to Europe. So when it comes to defending European countries, we here are just sitting and talking about this while Dolly is joining protests on the ground. So thank you so much, Dolly, for your service. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, Dolly's amazing. We also got a new member, Lot. Thank you for joining Satan's Minions. Kurt is also saying hit like so we don't get yelled at. That's a good reminder. And Shami gave a super sticker. Thank you for the super chat, Shami. Okay, we got a few more super chats. So Sid Day was saying eradication of belief in God is impossible. As long as society is secular, people are mostly following cultural practices and no religious laws. I think it is a good thing. That should be our goal. I agree. Yeah. I don't expect everyone to be an atheist. That's unreasonable.
Yeah, but that's not what we have to fight for. Eradication of Islam. Okay. The fact that we're not going to get there doesn't mean that we shouldn't be aiming for it. I don't know why people keep saying
the
that.
Belief in God.
Quite obvious.
It says eradication of the belief in God.
Yeah, eradication for belief in God as well. All harmful beliefs. We should aim for eradication of harmful belief, even if we can't get there. Right? There's a saying, they say, aim for the stars, land on the moon. Okay, your goal should be eradication of everything that is nonsensical, including belief in God, including all religions. The fact that we're not going to get there is not an argument for us not trying.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into this whole conversation with you because we've had it before and there's some specifics we can get into. GJ gave a super chat saying, the Netherlands coined a term for nuns who still believe in some kind of divinity in the universe as somethingists, or Letzism. It has a Letzism Wikipedia article, not by me, by the way. Yeah, this is super common, and this is common in America. So the nuns in America, as in if you're checking off multiple choice box, what is your religion? And the last choice is none. The nuns are actually the fastest growing religious group in America. And they're not necessarily atheist. They are probably have kind of a quasi spiritual belief. And this is really, really common.
Or deist. Many of them are deists.
Sid Dave gave a super chat saying Slavs were sold as slaves by Kievan Russians and Vikings. So basically whites selling other whites as slaves, just like the African slave trade. Yep. I mean, the existence of slavery is not anything special in human history. It's the absence of slavery that's more noteworthy.
Yes, that's a special part. And that's a unique time and place to live in. This is you guys, many of you have no idea how unique it is to live at a time and places. Again, I know there's still slavery, a lot of slavery in the world. That's why I say time and place. The fact that you live in a time and place that there's no slavery where you are at, that's very unique. That's very special. This was a fundamental part of human experience, human society, to have slavery.
Kelvin gave a super chat saying Aunt Susie is gorgeous today. Oh, well, thank you. Sid Dave gave a super chat saying in Poland they have a celebration called La Joknik, where they celebrate the defeat of the Mongols and a Polish man dresses up like a Mongol chief.
Okay.
I gotta go see a photo of this. But that's the end of our show today. So thank you everyone for joining. Make sure to tune in next week because I already have some juicy stories picked out because they keep on coming through. And make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, tell us what your favorite segment was, and make sure to tune in next week when I join for the news show. And throughout the week, Armin is always doing live streams and really fun, interesting stuff. So if you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. We're a fast growing channel. You got to get on board.
Dolly is saying she's always gorgeous. So Dolly was referring. responding to that person. And long live, I'm here saying long live the Atheist Republic. Well, thank you, sir. Guys, also beyond liking and also leaving a comment after the show is over and making sure you're subscribed to Atheist Republic on YouTube and hitting the bell notification, that's important. Subscribing is not enough because if you subscribe, YouTube, when we go live, YouTube will not tell you. If you hit the bell notification, then when we go live, YouTube will maybe tell you sometimes, right? It's more likely that YouTube will tell you. But beyond all of that, there's another free way that you could support our channel is by going around and telling your friends and your enemies to come subscribe to Atheist Republic on YouTube. It's very helpful. I've done some studies, done some investigation. Word of mouth is how channels grow. So you could be part of that word of mouth. So please go tell people, everybody, and tell them, unless it's not safe for you. If you live in an Islamic country where you go telling somebody that, hey, go subscribe to this atheist channel, might get you in trouble, then please don't recommend us. What are you doing? Why were you even thinking about doing that? Do not do that, okay? So do it only if it's safe. Thank you. All right, guys. Till next stream. Bye-bye. Mwah.